Hey, everybody, welcome to the Players Take episode 280. I'm your host, Justin DeSimone, joined by my co-host, the illustrious Montrell Rice. Montrell, how are you this week?
I'm doing all right. I'm just really tired.
Man, I just called you the illustrious, and that's how you give. That's the energy you're gonna give me. You giving me back? Oh, I'm tired. Oh, fucking.
Yeah, I'm just really tired.
Wake
Today,
up! Wake up! We're doing the podcast, bitch.
I've been up since 5:30 this morning. I don't know what you want.
What
from
the
me.
fuck? Why? What's
I had
work
to go,
doing to you?
I had to go to the gym.
Oh my god!
This morning,
So
so.
you're doing it to yourself. Okay, I see. Okay, well, all right, much. We'll get the energy levels up as the show goes. As the show goes on, all right, we'll work on it. But I'm excited. This is a good. We got a slate of news this week. Last week was a fucking dead zone. I don't really understand how we talked for like 2 hours last week, or was it 2 hours? I don't remember. Whatever.
No, we stretched out to like an hour and a half.
Yeah, something like that. I black out during the show. I don't remember what happened. But yeah. So I did want to talk about one thing before we got into things this week. My favorite podcast, the Around the NFL podcast, announced that they are done this week. They got canceled by the NFL, and
What?
I am so fucking sad about it. Like I'm so upset. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. So they went dark in May. Like May 20th was the last episode they posted, and the community's been losing their mind ever since. Me with them, not sure what the fuck is going on with this show. And then one of the co-hosts announced on Sunday basically that the show's over. It's getting rebranded. He is hosting the rebrand. And the other two hosts were basically let go by the NFL. So the worst outcome imaginable happened, where the three of them split and they're not going to be doing a show together anymore, basically. So the other two hosts are seemingly working on something independent, but man, I just wanted to give it a moment, like talk about it here real quick, because I've never brought this show up on our podcast before, but man, the Around the NFL podcast was it's sad to say it that way now, but was legitimately the best podcast I've ever heard in my life. These guys understood what a podcast is supposed to be more than anybody did, and it's a type of show that I wanted to strive towards us being at some point. It's just the level of, I don't know. It was literally like, originally it was four guys. One of them passed away in 2021, and they talked about the NFL. They talked about news. They would cover the games and stuff, but like there was like a level of like just four guys shooting the shit, around a table, just hanging out and talking to each other. That was always there, and that's the epitome of what a podcast is to me. It's not some like hyper analytical thing necessarily, or like this like really structured show. That's not really what good podcasts are to me. I mean, there are plenty of podcasts like that are good, but I just think the pure essence of it, the reason I got into podcasts, the reason I love podcasts, is this type of show that Around the NFL was. I'd say Podcast Beyond back in the day on IGN, way back in the day, I'm talking like 15 years ago, kind of captured that same energy where it wasn't like super structured, but they had segments and stuff, but it was like, it was like chaos, they were just goofing off and having fun, and Around the NFL never lost that energy through their 11-year run, and it just sucks that it's over. So I wanted to give an acknowledgement to that before we got started today. If you guys have never listened to it before and you're interested in the NFL, it's worth going back, even though you're going to be listening to shit from 10 years ago. The show is that good. Like, I think it's worth a listen personally. So yeah. Montreal, any, I don't know. I don't know how many, like, do you listen to any podcasts outside of what we do? Generally, or you?
I used to, but then I stopped.
Yeah, I know what you mean, dude. Like, that's why I'm so bummed about this, because I feel like the podcast space right now is it's like it's saturated, and it's not saturated in a good way. Like, I just don't think most podcasts are very good,
Yeah. A lot of people I used to listen to One of my favorite podcasts I used to listen to, I don't really listen to anymore, it was a hip hop podcast called the Joe Budden Podcast.
Yeah.
And then about 3 or 4 years ago, or maybe it was 5, maybe it was 4 years ago. Yeah, maybe it was 3 or 4 years ago. It was just three guys, or it was four guys. If you count their engineer that was like doing the stuff on the side, like doing the mics and stuff while they were talking. So sometimes they'll talk to the engineer. So it was Parks. So it used to be Maul, Rory, and Joe Button, and then with their engineer Parks. And they
Mhm.
used to just be. They had a video. They had a YouTube podcast, and then like obviously they upload it to Spotify or whatever. But it was just like three guys sitting on the couch. All of them were in the like either had some kind of tie in the industry. Joe Budden himself used to be a rapper, like back in the early 2000s or whatever. Um, but yeah, like all of them were like in the industry or used to be in the industry or whatever.
Mhm.
And it was like they used to do like album reviews, or then they'll talk about the news pertaining to hip hop and then certain topics relating to hip hop. And it was like legitimately three guys just shooting the shit about music and stuff. And their takes were like very non-biased. Like even if
Mhm.
like if Joe had heard the album, even if he knew the artist or whatever and it was trash, he'd be like, yo, this album's fucking trash. Like he would say it like that or
Yeah.
whatever. And if even if he even if he had beef with the artist and the artist released an album and the album was good, he'll be non-biased and say like, I actually like this album, blah blah blah, and all this stuff like that. Um, and then like money stuff came up and deals and contracts and stuff like that. Kind of split them apart and everything like that. And
Mm.
yeah, it hasn't been the same since. Rory and Mal went off to do their own thing, their own podcast, and then Joe Budden still has his podcast, but with like four other hosts on there.
Yeah.
And
It's just not
he
the same
tries to keep that
chemistry.
same he tries to keep that same energy with them because he's a good podcaster in general. I think he knows how to like get people to conversate and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But the other two, I tried to listen to their podcast, but it's not really that good. And they're super biased on a lot of stuff.
Mm.
So that was my main source of like listening to podcasts and stuff like that. Or and then obviously it's not really too many video game podcasts I used to listen to. I used to listen to Kind of Funny. Um
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was my favorite podcast for a while. But then obviously um their bias started to show, and it was just really hard for me
Dude,
to
they're I can't do it anymore with them, man. Like
yeah
they are so politically charged that it's gotten like you can't even listen to it, you know?
yeah it's yeah when it just yeah, the politics surrounding video games was getting on my nerves. And it's not even like, oh, you're against the woke stuff. I'm like, it's not even that. It was just all around. It was just a very toxic thing to listen to, in my opinion, because they weren't honest on either side of
Right.
the conversation, which
Right.
somehow they managed to do, in my opinion. And every other podcast that I try to listen to, um, they just didn't have. I don't know. It just wasn't really. I try to listen to other podcasts, but they're just not really too honest about how they approach topics and stuff. And especially this is just in video games. I feel like other um genres like hip music, when I listen to music podcast or maybe movie podcasts or something like that. A lot of them aren't in the industry or they are in the industry, and even the ones that are in the industry, when I listen to their podcast, uh they had like a very non-biased approach with it. Like if they didn't fucking like a movie or a TV show or something like that, they'll
Mhm.
express, I don't like this TV show. But with video game podcasts, people are so um
There's like a narrative.
thirsty.
There's always a
Yeah,
narrative, dude.
yeah,
Like they're
people are
always
so
trying to push
thirsty.
some narrative, yeah.
Yeah, the reason I say thirsty is because they don't want to step on any toes early. Like you can like when you listen to a podcast, you can tell like from the early episodes, like they didn't care about oh, getting this PlayStation deal or getting this Xbox deal or
Right.
getting this developer to come on or whatever. They would say their opinions on it. But now, with video games in general, I'm just speaking strictly video games, it's super biased. Like people, you can tell they clearly have an agenda. And like, say if we were like an Xbox centric podcast, right?
Mm-hmm.
If in my honest opinion, if I love Xbox and I love everything about Xbox, if they do something really shitty, I want to bring that up as an Xbox fan, like, hey, you guys have to do better. This is shitty. Don't do that. Or this is my opinion on this, not, and the third. When I listen to certain podcasts, whether it be like a Nintendo centric podcast, a PlayStation centric podcast, a Xbox centric podcast, or they try to generalize, they try to be real general, their
Mm-hmm.
biases still show. And I know we do it too, right? But like it's like, I don't know. Ever since I started doing
Yeah,
the
but
podcast in general, I feel like
yeah,
we try our best to be I think the only thing we're biased against, to be honest with you, is sports games. Like I think that's because we're jaded with
definitely, and I
sports
have no
games.
qualms admitting that,
Yeah.
like screaming it from the rooftops. Yes, I hate those games, and I'm not. Oh, and Final Fantasy 15. Sorry,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
um, but no, I know what you mean. Like I'd say, like for us, right? I think the obvious thing with our podcast is probably Xbox, right? Like we don't play, like we're not huge players of Xbox. We both own the console, but we're not. You played it a lot more than me back in the in more recent years, but I haven't been an Xbox player really since Xbox 360
Mhm.
heavily, and that's a perspective I'm coming from. But I think I think we both try to be very fair to them though in our coverage of them, like in the way we talk about them and stuff. I mean, we're going to talk about them today, and it's, I think the thing is, like, my honest feeling on them tends to be negative, but there were some, like the showcase, for instance. Like I think the showcase, like we were very positive on the showcase, and we've been positive on their showcases for years, the last like three
Mhm.
years probably of those. So it's like, even though that is a spot for us where we're not like, super ingrained in the community, I think we are fair to Xbox, however. So
Yeah.
there's definitely
And
plenty of Sony shit talk on this show. Don't get that
oh yeah, oh
fucking
yeah. We
twisted. So
as much as we love, so I mean they're the dominant force right now. Well, actually Nintendo low key is the dominant force. I mean they're
yeah,
so low key though. But we talk shit about this Nintendo and Sony. It's just like when it comes to serious topics surrounding um like video games and stuff like that, or microtransactions and developer versus player type situations. I feel like we do lean towards, well, at least I know I lean towards the player side, but even then I will snap back on the player and I'll be like, hey, like we need to do better, or we need to not do this, or we need to let developers know like the reason why they're doing this is because we're not speaking with our wallets, blah 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 blah, all that shit like that.
sports games
uh,
being a perfect example of that.
exactly, yeah.
Right, I blame
um
players for that situation more than anything.
oh yeah, 100%. um but yeah, it's just really hard to listen to. I think my patience has gotten like super thin because I just don't have. As soon as someone on the podcast mentions something like that, I know is like objectively wrong, I just be
Yeah,
like, I can't listen to the podcast no more.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
I don't mean to do that. And that's not wrong. Like in real life, if someone was talking to me in real life and they said something that was objectively wrong, I can still listen to them, engage with them, and everything like that. But it's like a podcast. I don't have to do that. I can just turn you off. Like you know
Well,
what I'm
also
saying? So
you're not interacting with the podcast, right? You're just listening to
exactly.
somebody monologue at you,
Exactly.
So it's harder in that situation to kind of to
And,
deal with that.
and that's another thing too. More podcasts sound like monologues than two guys reading the news and then shooting the shit about the news. Like that's kind of how I wanted the podcast to be. I kind of wanted the podcast to be like, King of the Hill style. Like, oh, we just looked at the paper and was like, hey, Dale, this is crazy. What's happening with Xbox right now? Yeah, that
Mm,
is crazy. What's happening with Xbox? Let's talk about it, and we just talk about it because we're shooting the shit in the backyard or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? So, like,
right.
um, even though it's more structured, we had to structure it more casually. In our early episodes, we used to go to like 3 or 4 hours or whatever, 2 or 3 hours. I think we only did like 1 4 hour episode. Um, because we were just like shooting the shit with each other, and we learned to tone it down. But I still don't get that from other podcasts where I'm looking for that shoot the shit type mentality. I
Yeah.
actually get it a lot in hip hop podcasts where like they
Mm-hmm.
are legitimately shooting the shit or whatever the case may be about said record, said artist, said topic that's going on in the hip hop community or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But video games is just too fake. That's the word I'm looking for. I think it's all a lot of it is just fake. And then if I it's smaller podcasts that I listen to, but I may give them like 1 or 2 episodes before like I may forget about them, and that's not no shade at them or anything. That's just it is what it is with that. My attention span is kind of
Yeah.
bad as far as that. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing with video games or podcasts in the video game space that I have issue with is just how like produced they are, you know. And sorry to keep calling out Kind of Funny, but Kind of Funny kind of led the charge on this, right? When they got their studio, like they just became like a ESPN knockoff, in the video game space, and I just I don't find that appealing, I guess, in podcasting, I like the more lo-fi kind of janky feel of a podcast where it's not. I'm not saying you don't put effort into making it sound good or anything like that, but I just mean like you're not so focused on production that you let the content get worse.
yeah,
And I think that's what's happened with a lot of video game podcasts in the space. So yeah, but yeah, around the NFL, you will be missed. I'm still kind of grieving it at this point because it was the one thing, because I am left with my video game podcast now. That's all I've been listening to the last 6 to 8 weeks. And I mostly listen to the Last Stand Media stuff. But I'm like, even their stuff, I'm not like super invested in it. It's not like their shows aren't like highly entertaining in the way around the NFL was. It's
yeah,
more just so I have some video game thing to listen to, more or less, and it's the one I can like put up with the most, out of what's out there. So so yeah, kind of is what it is. But all right, Montrell, let's get into the rigmarole, and then we can get into the rest of the show here. So for those of you who haven't listened before, this is our weekly show where we talk about video games, video game news, and other topics pertaining to video games. We post at 6 a.m. Central Time on Fridays on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, YouTube, and your favorite podcast app of choice. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter at The Players Take, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com, and we will answer your question on the show. All right, Montreal, let's jump in to what we've been playing. Do you want to go first this week, or would you like me to start?
I actually want to hear you talk about V Rising. I know you want to get to that.
Okay. All right. Well, I kind of need to talk about that last. So
Okay.
I'm going to start with League. We played twice, I think, in the last week, and went a little bit of a journey with League of Legends over those 2 days.
You definitely did go for a journey.
Yeah, no. So 2 days ago we played, and brother, when I tell you, it was not my night. I have not been that frustrated with League in a long time. It was weird when I went and looked back at the game log of matches we played. I think we played like 7 games over the course of the whole night, and the first 2 we kind of dominated, and our opponents surrendered quickly. And then though, over the course of the rest of the night, it got progressively worse, where we were losing every game, but I was playing very poorly, and I was tilting very, very hard. I don't know what was wrong with me that night, but I was tilting, increasingly getting more and more tilted, and making worse and worse plays as a result of that. And I just had bad game after bad game after bad game. We didn't lose every game. I think we won 2 of them actually. But man, that last one where it just League, sometimes I don't understand. It's like the game knows what's happening with you, mentally, and it's just trying to fucking stick the knife in further into the wound,
Yeah.
And so that last game, I hadn't played. I couldn't play. Like, dude, the second to last game was supposed to be the last game, but Jin, and I wanted to play Jin. I hadn't played Jin all night. I really wanted to play Jin. Jin gets fucking banned, by the opposing team. So I couldn't play fucking Jin that game. So I play Vayne. I have a pretty mostly poor game with Vayne. And then the next game, the last game we play, I do get to play Jin. I pick Jin. I first pick him. I swap with you, I think, or Jet. I don't remember. And I first pick him. I'm like, I'm playing Jin. I don't give a shit. I'm playing Jin. I'm fucking like, I want to play Jin. Like, he's my best character. I wanted to play him. So I pick him. And then we get, dude, in Norms, we get this gimmick ass lane of Brand ADC and fucking Ornn. I'm like, what? Like, what are we doing here, man? Like, what is this? Like, is this ranked? Like, they literally picked a combo to specifically counter me. Like, and it was just fucking so fucking it was so irritated. So I was instantly tilted in that game. The funny part about that game though was that Jet and I did fine. Like, we were winning the lane ostensibly for majority of the early game. Like, I was like 3-0 at one point, and the enemy Brand was like 0-3, and I think the Ornn was like maybe 1-1 or something like that. Like, they weren't doing great. Like, I was keeping up on farm, like it was going fine. But then we got into the mid game, and I think the thing is, the problem we were having is that Ornn Brand as a combo like pushes the lane really hard. Brand's wave clear is just so fucking dummy absurd that you can't, like, as Jin, you can't push the lane hard enough.
As anybody, you can't push the lane.
Right. There's no ADC that can really keep up with that level of wave clear that Brand puts out, especially safely,
Yeah.
So that's the issue, was our tower was getting like really pegged by this, obviously. And that's why the lane was more of a draw overall than us winning, as much as our record was better. We never touched their tower the entire early game. And so that was an issue for us. But then, like, we got into the mid game, and like, we're going through the game,
and popping off.
And yeah, what was it? It was Ashe. Who were the other players in that game? There was Ashe.
Was that the Ashe game? I thought that was the Yorick game when he got like 16-0 or something like that, or 16-2.
Was that the Yorick Neferi? No, that was a different game.
You sure? Maybe it was.
Yes, that was a different game. I was playing. Who was I playing that game? I don't remember. Yeah, I don't remember who I was playing. I was playing Kai'Sa. That was the game. I was playing Kai'Sa that game, the Yorick Neferi game, where it was everybody on the enemy team has summons. I think I was playing Kai'Sa because her fucking, remember, her Q doesn't work on Neferi's minions.
Yeah.
I learned that in that game. That was fucking fun. So no, this was the game with Ashe. We had Ashe, Brand, Ornn, Veigar, I think, and who was their jungler? Fuck, I don't remember who their jungler was, but point being, the Ashe was top, and she was doing pretty well, and she ended up being their primary carry in the whole game for their team. And dude, when I tell you, I don't know, it just felt like the enemy team was like, they really wanted to kill me specifically. It felt like, which, I mean, they're supposed to do. I'm playing the ADC, so it's not like it's a surprise necessarily, but when you play League, a lot of the time people don't do that. There's a lot of teams that just they don't focus on you that hard. So I'm like, I think I ended the game 7-7 or something. Like, I didn't have a terrible game by any stretch of the imagination, but we just couldn't win though. Like, we were losing most of the team fights. We didn't get any objectives. That was the game with Kane, I think, right? I want to say that we had a Kane who like didn't do any fucking dragons. So it's just a really frustrating night. I ended the night like super tilted. I went to bed. I was super angry. I woke up the next morning. I was still mad. I had dreams about League. That's how fucking upset I was. Like, it was out of control, dude. Like, I was so upset. I don't know. I don't know what was going on. So then yesterday I get on with you guys and we played 2 games and it went fine. Like, like, we won both games. We kind of dominated both games, actually. So it was a fun night. So it ended up kind of bringing me back. Okay, all right, I can live with League again. It's fine. Everything's fine. It just was like, I couldn't believe how tilted I was getting. I was so mad on Tuesday, dude, that I went to bed and I was like, what a waste of a night. God, it was so fucking bullshit. Oh, I should have just played V Rising, I was so fucking upset. So, So I don't know. League's fun, guys. You should all play League of Legends.
You
That's
should
the
not
moral
play
of the
League of
story.
Legends.
What about you with League? I mean, how are you feeling about it right now?
I mean, it is. I feel like, uh, I don't know, man. I just be playing now. I don't even get mad anymore, to be honest with you. Like I just be like, whatever. It is what it
Yeah.
is at this point.
I will say I've noticed you're definitely not as agitated, I guess.
Yeah, I
Like
just
that.
I don't. 'Cause I just accepted that. I've talked to my other friend who I played a couple games with him before y'all got online, and he was saying the same thing. Like he's in the same rate. And he climbed up to gold and platinum and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I don't know. He got dropped all the way back to bronze 3. He climbed up to gold 3, and he got dropped all the way back to bronze. He went on a complete losing streak. And I'm
Yeah.
like, the same shit happened to me. I don't know what's going on with the game. He's like, yeah, I feel like the players have gotten worse this patch. And I was like, yeah, I feel like it's a player issue. I don't even feel like it's the game at this point. And I
I
mean, I
don't
watched,
either. I totally agree with you. I think the
yeah,
game's fine,
yeah, I just feel like the state of the players are League would be very fun if the players weren't bad and they think they're good.
Everybody
I
thinks they're good, including
Everybody
us.
thinks they're I mean, but we don't type in chat. Like
I was typing in chat on Tuesday, bro.
and that's how I knew you were mad. Yeah,
I
that's how I knew
lost
you.
it, dude. I never ever type in chat. I was typing in chat, bro. Like I was fucking going at people. There was the
And,
Kane in that one game who was pinging me, and I told him to shut the fuck up. Like he was, I was like, you're fucking miserable. Like he didn't say shit the rest of the game. He never said anything in the chat. Actually,
yeah, and so I talk a lot of shit on the mic when I'm in Discord, but I never type in
yeah,
chat.
yeah,
And over
dude.
the last 2 or 3 weeks, like I even have a policy where I don't type in chat. Like
Yeah,
I don't have to mute myself because I don't do it, but I've been muting
yeah.
myself because I was playing with Jet ranked a couple weeks ago, and I literally told somebody their mom should have aborted them, and I was just like, that was where I was like, okay, this is
You had to
going
take
too
a
far
step
for me.
back. You had to
Yeah,
take a step
like.
back.
And I
Look in
was
the
so
mirror.
mad. I was so mad, Justin. It was so
Oh, I wish I was
because
there. Oh my god.
he did nothing. It was
Yeah,
a jungler too. He did nothing. I was Leona, and we had locked down someone on the top lane. And
yeah,
Leona has like 3 points of CC. I
yeah.
orked him. I locked him down. I also have Thornmail. I got Sunfire Cape. I'm doing a whole bunch of damage to him. My little passive does damage to him. The person is legitimately like maybe like 3/3, or yeah, about 2/3 dead. Let's say 3/3, 2/3 dead. All Nocturne had to do was just put a couple autos in and then CC him and then and kill him. He's literally stood there and watched me. I like not even joking. I wish I would have saved the game because he literally stood there, watched me do all this, my full combo, fight him for like 20 seconds, which was a long ass time in League of Legends. It did nothing. And then I die, and then he pings me and says something, and I didn't say nothing the entire game, Justin. Nothing.
Oh yeah, yeah.
He said something to me, and I just went off. I all caps. Your mom should have aborted you. Shut the fuck up talking to me. You're a terrible fucking jungler. Please go back to training mode. As a matter of fact, don't go back to training mode. Delete
Uh-huh.
this. Delete this app or delete this game. Take your
Yeah.
computer to the dumpster and fucking trash it because you're fucking ass. Like I don't care. And I typed all that in chat. I didn't get banned. Surprisingly, maybe the chat was like, "Yo, this is warranted" or
Oh,
something.
they
I don't
didn't
fucking
report.
know. No, they didn't
It's
report me.
warranted. They agreed
Because,
with you. They were like, "Yeah, fuck that guy, man." No,
yeah,
no, they
I
probably just
was.
didn't report you.
Yeah, he probably didn't report me. I was so mad. And then that's when I was just like, I don't type in chat. I just yell in the mic, but I
Yeah,
don't type in chat. Um, and that's when I was like, yeah, I gotta take a step back. But no, I think this season the players, I don't know if it's the matchmaking, like I said, or anything like that.
yeah.
The state of the game is actually really good, except for a couple outliers like Lilia Brand and maybe Zyra or something like
Jin
that.
might be one of those outliers.
Yeah, Jin,
He is
Jinx.
he's stronger than I think he's ever been right now. Like
Yeah,
I feel so absurdly powerful when I'm playing him. Like it's fucking silly.
yeah. I just think his skill comes into play. The reason why he's not like a menace is because of his reload mechanic.
Well,
Um,
he's not necessarily an easy champ to play. You know,
yeah,
like
exactly.
I
I
actually
just
think
think
he
he's
just
not an
takes
easy champ
skill.
to pilot. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not an easy champ to pilot at all. But yeah, there's a couple outliers like Jinx, um, Kaisa, because Kaisa's fucking broken. I love playing her though.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and yeah, that's probably about it. Those five champions. Um, but everything else, I'm like okay with it. I mean, even when we have like a super uber tank, I feel like the tanks are, even though they do deal too much damage. Um, I feel like that's okay because now
They're
we have the tools that,
manageable. You can kill them at
yeah,
least now, you know?
yeah, exactly. They were
Um,
unkillable machines in like in season 13 or
oh
12 or
my
something
fucking
crazy.
god, dude.
When
There
Heartsteel was first released, that's when they were like unfucking killable. It was actually insane how bad Heartsteel
Yeah.
was. Like,
Yeah. No, I actually think
um,
it's mostly okay now. Um,
yeah, but yeah, I think the players are terrible now. I think the matchmaking, particularly like in lower elo, like it's not fun. Also, I think the mentalities that we had before season 14 changes doesn't work in this
mhm.
current season of League of Legends. And there was a
Yeah.
statistic that kind of backed that up where they actually put the higher MMR players on the weak side of the map. But now since the map is actually balanced now, since the map changes, that weak
Mm,
side of the map doesn't matter, and it's actually the numbers are like super skewed now,
yeah.
as far as like who's winning and losing and stuff like that. um
Yeah.
so I don't know, I think they just need to tweak some more stuff out. I Also, this has nothing to do with Riot. I really think the community needs to take a look at itself as far as coaching. I think we need to
Oh,
get away from this main character. That's the problem right there, honestly. I think every player has a main character persona in fucking, especially in solo queue ranked.
yeah.
Um, you always have this idea that I'm the carry and everyone else is fucking stupid. When like, no,
Right.
these are like, even though we're just talking trash, like I don't say stuff in chat because I'm like, these are other human beings trying, probably most likely trying their best or whatever, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Um, so I try not to say nothing in chat, but I am saying stuff in my room, but they can't hear that because we don't have fucking voice comms. So um, so yeah, like, but like they're constantly typing in chat dumb shit. Uh, the advice given to players is like, solo, don't worry about your teammates, get the best champion, win the game. And I just feel like that's super
Right.
detrimental to
Carry from whatever
League.
role you're playing. It doesn't
It-
matter, you know?
yeah,
Like, yeah.
exactly. And I feel like instead of trying to say this is how you can focus on being the best teammate and the best person in that role and what that role should be doing, everyone's just saying fuck everybody. This is how you carry from that lane because all your teammates are fucking dumb. Like that's legitimately what they say in some of these videos, and I just feel like it's a team game. Like imagine, like, okay, yeah, we do have people in actual sports who like quote unquote carry the team, but the team still plays a role in the thing, right? Like Tom Brady couldn't have got his dynasty without the team. I
Right,
mean,
of course. You know,
you
it's
know, like,
obviously when you say somebody carries, right? Like that's within the context of the game though. It's like you couldn't take every other player on their team off the field and they could win by themselves.
exactly.
Like the only sport that's possible in sometimes is maybe basketball where like somebody fucking dominates, but even that's absurd, you know? Like that
Yeah,
probably would
exactly.
never be true, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, even like for instance, like Kobe or Jordan, like they may take over the game, but like there are other role players within
Right.
that
Opening
game.
up lanes for them or something, you know? It's like
Exactly.
they're not necessarily taking shots, they might not be scoring, they might not even be passing, dude. They might just be occupying a player's space, you know?
Exactly.
Um, but that shit contributes to why that player dominated, you know? It's like,
Exactly. So I feel like when people, so like this mentality for people who actually played sports, like that's why I get so frustrated with League, because I legitimately don't care how many times someone dies. If you're contributing to the team, I can care less if my support dies 20 times. If they contributed equally to the team,
Right.
then like you're contributing to the team or whatever the case may be. The problem I have with League is someone would die once or twice and then tilt the entire fucking game because you died once or twice. And it's like, and then other people will tilt or whatever. And they're like, oh, that's the game. And I'm just like,
Yeah, dude. No, yeah. So I'm going on the opposite journey you are with this because I think I've told this story on the podcast a really long time ago why I stopped playing League back in the day, like in 2011 or 2012, where like I had a game where like, you know, I was playing. This was back when Shaco was like a carry, you know, when he first came out, and I was with an Alistair in lane, and he wanted to immediately gank the enemy team, you know, like instantaneously like, go after the enemies and attack them at level 1, you know, like it was like top laner nonsense where you're like attacking people before the minions are even there, you know, you're trying to fight people before minions show up. And I'm not that kind of player, right? I'm not like that aggressive, you know. I'm not doing that shit at level 1 unless I have characters that have a distinct advantage at level 1. And Shaco is not one of those characters, bro. Let me just say. Um, so I'm like, dude, I'm not going with you. I'm not going with you, you know. And he fucking insisted. He goes in by himself, and then he starts pinging me and fucking, you know, he's yelling at me. He's like, the Shaco's fucking terrible. Blah, blah. And then the game goes on, like, you know, this started affecting me, and I was playing poorly. I wasn't having a good game. So then I started playing the game, and like I started fucking things up. I missed kills. I ended up dying in bad spots, and like this Alistair just is talking shit the whole game to the rest of the team, saying, "Oh, this Shaco's fucking terrible." Blah 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 blah. So my whole team fucking turns on me, you know. And then and it was one of the most wild things I've ever experienced because yeah, my team turns on me, and then as the game continued to wear on, you know, at one point I don't usually do this, but there's a point in the game where I kind of like shut down and I just sat in fountain for like 2 or 3 minutes. Like I didn't want to play anymore, you know. Like these people had been so fucking mean to me, like just because of nothing. Like, you know, my fucking laner was an idiot. Like my lane partner was a fucking idiot, got himself killed and blamed me for it. And then, you know, everybody else just dogpiled on me for no fucking reason because he's the vocal one. You know, it was such a mob mentality moment that I've ever seen in something. But it got to the point that my team started talking in all chat and talking to the enemy team and saying that, you know, oh, this Shaco fucking sucks. Report this fucking Shaco. Fuck this Shaco. And then the enemy team started talking shit to me too. Like literally all 9 players in the game were just talking shit to me. It was horrible. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had in a fucking video game. So I stopped playing League after that. Like I literally, like that day, I think I tried to play a couple more games. Maybe that day, maybe the day after, and I just couldn't do it anymore, dude. Like I was like, it ruined the game for me for a very, very, very long time. Like, it ruined competitive games for me for a very long time, you know?
And yeah, I can understand that. That's why I don't type in chat, like for that reason. And it's like, the only reason I did type in chat and told that dude to abort himself or whatever, his mom should have aborted him, is because he was talking shit in chat and he wasn't doing anything. Like,
yeah, right.
And you know, Jet usually doesn't get upset. He gets upset, but he usually doesn't get upset in chat or whatever. But he was getting upset too, and I'm just like, dude, shut the fuck up! Like, stop talking to us and do your job. And yeah, like, I don't talk shit in chat because I've been on both sides. I've been where there's a player who's like, you know, everybody's dogpiling on the player, or I've been the player everybody dogpiles on. So I just, in ranked, especially in ranked, I turn off chat or whatever. I may turn on chat because I play ADC now in ranked. So I turn on chat and I tell my ADC what my plan is. Like, this is what we're gonna do. Then I turn off everything. And if they want to abide by that, they can. If they don't, they don't.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. League is a terrifying game to play, in my opinion, with chat turned on.
Mentally,
mentally. And I understand, like, it is just a game, and I want people to communicate more. But I just feel like the community got to do better. I think the players got to be better.
Not like everybody who plays League just feels like they're immature. Like they can't be mature, you know?
Yeah.
And like acknowledge that somebody's having a bad day or they're having a bad game, and it's okay, dude. You know, it's just a video game. No, it's literally like, you know, you remember Hey Arnold? Did you ever watch that show?
Yeah. Yeah.
You remember the coach of the basketball team? Who was like obsessed with winning? Yeah, that's everybody that plays League is him. And like the point of that character was to illustrate that a complete like one track mind on winning is so toxic to everyone around you. Like it will hurt your relationships with people. If you do it in real life.
Yeah.
And that's what the League community is like. Dota's like this too. All these games are like this. But the thing is, I'm going on this reverse journey with it though, because I was like, when we started playing League again, I turned chat off, dude. I didn't have team chat on. I didn't have opponent chat on for a long time, for like a year, and then I turned team chat back on, recently, a few months ago. And then I've turned all chat back on in the last few weeks. And when I was tilting the other night, dude, I just broke because that I have that memory of that game is like a core memory of mine, like it will never leave me for as long as I live. That's how bad it was, and that's why when that Kane started pinging me, I just fucking lost it, dude, because I am so fucking tired of what you just mentioned, the main character syndrome, where everybody who plays these fucking games thinks they are the important one. They're the one everyone should cater to. They're the one who's the best player on the fucking team. Regardless of what's actually true, regardless of what's actually happening, they're fucking oblivious. And then they start talking shit to you because they died in a dumb way and they want to blame something nearby, and you're the closest thing. So they're like, fuck you, Jin. Why didn't you fucking save me? Oh, I don't know, bro, because there's 4 people around you that on the enemy team, and I'm fucking Jin. What the fuck do you think I'm going to do? Like, you think I'm going to dive in there and fucking explode everybody? Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm fucking Ornn? Like, who do you, like, what reality are you fucking living in? So I'm like, so I fucking, like, I didn't completely lose it. I just said a couple fucking sentences at the dude, and I didn't say anything for the rest of the fucking game, and neither did he. But it's like, I'm just tired of this. Like, if people are going to come at me in these games, I'm fucking biting back now, dude. I'm done. I'm fucking done with these people. Like, you're fucking dumbass. You are an idiot. Like, you're terrible at this game, and you're acting like you're good. You're not. Shut the fuck up. You're the reason we're fucking losing. Shut up and sit in fountain. Like, we'd be better off without you. It's like, dude, we won a fucking 4v5 yesterday when this fucking Karthus, who was fucking terrible, got fucking mad at some point in the game. He didn't say anything, but he just quit the fucking game at one point without saying shit. And we fucking won the game without him. Like, 4v5. Like, we won it outright. No fucking, like, the enemy team didn't even get close to winning. Like, we won it straight up 4v5. Like, and it's just like, that's what, it's just what I mean. Like, people aren't, like, they don't see the actual goal for what it is. The goal of the game is to fucking win. It's to destroy the enemy nexus. That's the goal of the game. The goal of the game isn't for you to be 20-0,
Exactly.
That's not the goal of the fucking game, And it's like everybody's obsessed with that idea of being 20-0. Oh, I'm so good. I'm so fucking good at this game. Oh, I went 20-0, bro. It's like, but you still lost. So, but I'm good. It's like, okay, it's not the point.
I think the prime example of that is when I went 0-17 as a Lowry top lane.
And you won the game for us. You literally won the game for us. Like, that's it's a great example, right? Like, that's exactly what I'm talking about. You didn't give up. You didn't fucking start talking shit to the rest of the team that nobody helped you the whole game or whatever. You just kept plugging away. You kept dying, but you kept plugging away. And eventually, dude, you caught them with their pants down when they're fighting us in mid, like the rest of us in mid, and you fucking killed the fucking base, by yourself. And it's just like, it's like no one's like, I think everybody in the game honored you actually after that. So I think people gave you props for it, but it's like, but in the moment, like, if we had lost the game, people would have been like, oh, this 0-17 Alawi's fucking terrible. It's like, so I'm just tired of it, man. Like, people need to fucking, like, get their heads on straight, like, and fucking gain some perspective, man. It's so irritating, because League is fun. Dota is fun. They can be super fun games if everybody actually plays the game like they're on a team, Yeah. But it's just, this is a problem. Like, I'm sorry, I'm going to go here. This is a gamer problem. Gamers don't know how not to be selfish. They just don't. They're all, like, a lot of them are just grown ass man children who don't know how to share. They don't know how to be nice to people. They don't know how to have interactions with people. They don't know how to play on a team, you know? And it's
Well,
just
you know what I think it is personally, and this is about to be my age, Sean. I honestly think a lot of league players are like younger players, like 25, 26 or whatever,
yeah.
and they didn't experience the couch co-op esque
Mm,
type games. So it breeds that
yeah.
mentality where you just sit in your room all the time by yourself.
Yeah.
Whereas like we experienced that. So we still kind of have that mentality of when I'm playing online, it's almost like the person's next to me type situation.
But we
I don't
both play
say nothing
sports too.
online. Exactly. We both play sports. So I don't say nothing online that I wouldn't say to somebody in their face or whatever. Like I would legitimately, if that Nocturne character dude was sitting next to me, I would legitimately say that shit to his face. If he, because he was talking shit to me the entire game. So
Yeah,
I would
man.
have
Yeah.
legitimately like snapped and just said it to his face or
Yep.
whatever.
Yep.
Um, but I, um, I don't know. I think I 100% agree with you. I just think online games in general, you know, I mean, trash talking has always been there. That's always been a part of online things, and that's never going to go away or whatever. Um, I don't mind trash talking. I just don't like it when,
It's not justified.
yeah, man. Like it's just like if you're trash
Like if
talking
you
other
can't talk,
team,
if you can't back up your trash talk, then why are you trash talking? That's the problem.
exactly.
Like nobody's gonna go to like a fucking pickup basketball game and miss every shot and never get a basket, and you're talking shit to everyone around you that they all
Oh,
suck.
there are people that do that. There are people that do that, but then they get shown off the
Yeah,
court like,
they
oh,
get
he's
thrown
trash.
out. Get the
Yeah,
fuck
he's
out of here, dude. Like, yeah, exactly. We can't do that. Well, we can kind of do that in league, I guess, by reporting people, but
that shit doesn't
um,
fucking work.
but
But
it
yeah,
doesn't work. Yeah, it
yeah,
doesn't do anything. You know, they
yeah,
just come back with a different account, like because the
yeah.
game's fucking free. So there's no like real solution to it. But I don't know. I just wanted to. I needed to get that off my chest. Okay.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just think I think right now the community's in the worst spot it's ever been as far as like the
Yeah.
community. Um,
Mentals.
I, yeah, the mental state of the community. I've never seen players tilt the way they tilted before. When I
Yeah.
was climbing back, like 3 or 4 years ago, players
Yeah.
actually tried, and they actually tried to, do stuff. Like even I was playing support this past couple weeks before I switched to ADC, and I was just like trying to support my ADC. He was having a bad game. I'm like, man, you got this, bro. You got, and we ended up winning the game because his mental was just like shot. He's like, I'm doing so fucking bad. The jungler was talking shit about him. I'm like, bro, mute
Uh,
everybody except me. We got
yeah.
this. I'm gonna be your support mentally as
Mhm.
well. Let's fucking do this. And he was a Jin
Yeah.
actually, and then he started just popping off, getting his 4 shots and popping off, and we won that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's what you got to do. Like I don't know, like. And he tried to add me as a friend. But I was like, nah, I'm good. But it was just like, uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It was a
but
one
yeah,
time experience. It was
yeah, it
nice,
was a
but
one
yeah.
time experience. Yeah, I think people would be more nice online. Then we won't have all these restrictions. Like people are like, oh, you're taking away my freedoms, and it's like, all right, just be nice, bro. Like, just try to
Yeah,
be
if
nice one
you know
time.
what, dude, if people were nice, then League wouldn't have all this fucking bullshit where you could turn the chat off and like, all this stuff to like avoid. Like if people were just nice, everybody's just immediately a shit talker, you know? It's
Yeah.
like I don't know. Dude, what it reminds me of is driving,
Oh my
um
god. Yeah.
where
Right.
everybody has main character syndrome on the road, where they're like, "Oh, I'm the most important one. I have to be in front of everybody." Even though that doesn't like there's no meaning to that idea of being in front. you know,
90% of traffic is because people just don't let someone into the exit.
a
That's
100%, 100%, dude. No, I see it all the time. On 114, when 114 goes down to 3 lanes
yeah.
in South Lake. Yeah,
Mhm.
that left lane that like goes away. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's traffic there every day because people drive up the entire left lane. Even though it says it's ending.
Like
And it's
it
like,
says it's like 2 miles ahead. Like
yeah,
it's about to end.
yeah. But no, I got to be in front, so I'm going to drive all the way up, and I'm going to cause like a fucking giant traffic jam in that left lane. It's so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable. It's gotten to the point with that where I like legitimately I try to I almost I get very tempted to block the lane, entirely. Just sit there, like don't let them in, But there's
Yeah.
a giant emergency lane around it, so they're just going to go around me,
Yeah.
because people are fucking dicks. Like they think they're so fucking special. So I don't know. I just get tired of this mentality because, dude, I deal with it at work. You deal with it at work, right? We both work in tech support.
Yeah, we
Um,
both work support roles in real life, you know.
and bro, like, yeah, can I tell you the amount of like entitled special people who think they're super special, that their shit is the most important shit in the world there are. Everybody's like that. So seeing it in work, you see it on the road when you drive home, and then you get on League and you see it, you know. And at a certain point, I just can't take it anymore, you know. I just explode. So that's what happened this week, you know. So yeah, all right, let's move on from League. We've been talking about it for long enough. But outside of League, I was playing against the Storm last week while I was off. I got all the way to Prestige 10 out of so it goes up to Prestige 20. So I got close to halfway there. I decided to stop at Prestige 10 because Prestige 10 is the one that I was dreading the most, where it halves trade value for all your materials to traders. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stop here. I'm done with this for now. I've had fun. I've enjoyed this. I've gotten through these prestige ranks. I've gotten a little deeper with this game than I did originally. And I'm enjoying doing that, you know, but I think this is a stopping point. So I'm going to put the game down for now. I think I'm going to wait until the expansion they're working on comes out. And then I may pick the game back up. At that point, I just, you know, it was getting to the point where like I wasn't having an issue with the prestige difficulties. Like I actually got through all of them without dying. I still have only died the one time, you know, in the game. So it's not like I was failing or anything like that. But I will say the game was starting to get a little monotonous too, I guess is the other thing I would say. This is kind of what I hope with the expansion, that it brings in some new mechanics, some new interactions, maybe even new types of ways to win maps, because there's really only the two ways. There's getting 18 reputation beyond Prestige 1, and then there's the sealed forests maps where you have to break open the seal. And those are the only two types of victory conditions there are in the game. I kind of hope they introduce more, because that's what was starting to get a little monotonous with it, is that you don't do this. You do the seals once per cycle, and cycles are very long. Cycles are like the number of years. I think I was up to 56 years is how long my cycle is, and that adds up depending on how long your settlements take to finish. So if my first one takes 7 years, I have 49 years left, you know. So it's like up to, you know, it could be anywhere from 8 to 10 settlements before I get to the seal, you know. So that's a lot of gameplay I'm talking about there, because settlements are taking 2 to 3 hours each. I mean, we're talking 20 to 30 hours before you even get to a seal. So it's like, so the game is starting to get a little monotonous in that regard, because the last map I finished, the last settlement I finished, was one where I was really struggling for like an hour. Like it was I was having trouble like breaking through a barrier where I was up to like 11 or 12 impatience out of 14, and when you hit 14 you lose. And I was really teetering on the edge of that for a long period of time in this. And I was at like 2 rep out of 18, you know, and it was like I was really up against it. But I started to slowly kind of break through that, and I was kind of catching back up. And then eventually, like, I hit the point where I was able to mass gain reputation through resolve really fast. And I did it all in 1 year, basically, where I gained like eight or 9 reputation in 1 year, essentially, like half the bar I fucking filled up in 1 year. So, and it was like I ended the game with my impatience underneath 1, you know. I got it all the way down to 1, you know, and it was like it felt so like, I don't know, it just felt like I kind of got the game figured out at this point. And the rest of these prestige ranks, I'm pretty confident I can get through. I'm not actually like that worried about it, to be honest. Which is why I want to put the game down, because I don't want it to get boring. So I'm putting it down until the expansion comes out, and I'll come back to it. So instead, what I did was I picked up V Rising, which I had bought back in May, and never actually played. I started playing this game, and this game is a lot of fun. It is so. This game is interesting because it presents as kind of like an ARPG. It looks like an ARPG. You have that isometric view of your character, just like a Diablo game or any other ARPG. But I will say it immediately is not that type of game, in the sense that controlling your character, you don't control it with the mouse, like clicking the mouse. You use the WSAD keys. to move around in the game, and you actually control your character's orientation with the mouse, like where your mouse is located is where they will look, in the direction they will use abilities in. That is not how ARPGs play. ARPGs are mouse point and click games where you click and your character will go there, and that's how you control the character. So it's a completely different control scheme. Number one. Number two is this game is not a loot game. There's no loot really. The loot is just materials that you can use to upgrade your castle and upgrade your gear. You're not really killing enemies for drops. That's not the point of the game. You also don't level up the way you would in an ARPG or a traditional RPG. Like you don't gain experience when you kill enemies. Like that's not a thing that's in the game either. So this game is primarily a crafting game. Actually, is what it is. And you are a vampire. And you wake up and you go through the brief tutorial, and then you're out in the world. The game just kind of lets you free, and it does walk you through a few basic things, but for the most part, you're kind of on your own and you can do whatever you want. And it's very cool. I think this game is really fun. I'm enjoying it a lot. Basically, the premise of the game is you run around, you gather materials, you fight enemies, you get materials off them. You can kind of absorb their blood, and each type of enemy has different blood types that give you different bonuses depending on what they are, which is an interesting mechanic. But you also have a blood kind of a gauge. You have like 10 points of blood that you have, and it will slowly tick down as you run around and do stuff and fight enemies and hit trees and what have you, use abilities and stuff. And it'll slowly go down, and you have to go suck the blood out of something else to refill that meter, basically. Eventually, if you run out of blood, you just start taking damage. Like you'll just start taking tick damage until you go fill up on an enemy. So it's the vampire mechanics are kind of cool because there is a day-night cycle in the game as well. And when it's daytime, if you're in the sunlight, you will take damage, and you will take damage very fast, and you will die very quickly if you are not in the shade. So you have to play with the shadows, which is really cool. Shadows have been in games obviously for a very long time, and they're a very graphically intensive part of most games. But it's fun to actually have a game where it's a mechanic that you're using the shadows, and you have to be in the shadows during the day, which is cool as well. So fighting during the day is a lot more interesting because you have to be very positional about where you are. You can't stand out in the open very long before you start taking damage from the sun. So you kind of have to bob and weave in and out and hit enemies and go back into the shade and whatnot, which is cool. So when you're not in combat and you're not gathering and stuff, you go back and there are tons of locations on the map where you can put a castle. So you can get to build your own vampire castle. That is basically the main purpose of the game, is collecting these materials to kind of build your castle. And then that allows you to build, craft new gear, craft new like accessories and certain things like bags and stuff to increase your inventory space, all sorts of stuff you can craft. But that's the primary mode of progression in the game, is crafting new gear. And then you complete objectives. There's like a main objective that continues. Like the game has kind of it's like almost like a main quest, but it's not like story based or anything like that. They'll just give you an objective, you complete it, and then you get the next objective. And that's kind of your main form of progression, is following those objectives and completing those. And the second form of progression that is sort of it's separate from the quests, but it's also generally eventually will get tied into it. Like they'll give you an objective where you have to complete this other path of progression in order to continue. Is something called V Blood, which there's like a bunch of boss enemies that have what the game calls V Blood, which is basically you beat this boss, you absorb their energy, and you get a whole bunch of like rewards and stuff from them. But there's like a ton of bosses that you have to fight in the game, like a shit ton of bosses that are in the game. So that's the other path of progression, is leveling your gear up and going and finding these bosses and then fighting them. And I will say, now that I'm out of the early game, I'm kind of into the beginning of the mid game. I would say in the mid to late 30s in terms of enemy level. The bosses are starting to get very challenging, which is cool. I'm having a lot of fun with it, actually, because the combat is interesting. You you like I said, you move your character with the keyboard, but you have to choose your direction with where your mouse cursor is pointing. And so what you can do is you can kind of pseudo kite enemies, like melee enemies sometimes, but you're also having to dodge projectiles. Caster enemies will cast spells at you and stuff like that. There are AoEs you have to dodge and stuff. So the game, the combat it's not like hyper complex, but it's deep enough where it's challenging and fun. And I'm enjoying that aspect of the game a lot. Basically, what the game gives you is there are a bunch of different weapon types in the game. There are, so far, what I found are swords, dual wielding axes, hammers, spears, crossbows, and bows. There may be more than that. I haven't unlocked them yet, if there are. And each one of those weapons has their own weapon abilities. They have 2 weapon abilities each. And I've only unlocked one so far. I think I'm getting close to unlocking the second one on all the weapons. But they have their own unique weapons abilities. So basically, each weapon has its own style of combat, essentially, which is cool. Whereas like the axes, the dual wielding axes, the weapon ability I have right now is you kind of dash forward and do like a slash, and then you get increased attack speed for like 2 or 3 seconds. So they're kind of like the speedy, fast weapon. And then for the hammer has a AOE like jump smash ability where you like smash in an AOE. Which is really cool. So it's more, it kind of almost plays like it can play like a hit and run weapon, which is interesting for a giant mace, which is cool. And then the bow, like, obviously is a ranged weapon, but it shoots out like like a volley of arrows and a cone. That's the one ability I have for that right now. So basically the fun part about this is using the different weapons, but also building. Your character has abilities that you have innately. When you kill these bosses, you'll get skill points for your spell book, and you'll be able to pick spells from the different schools of magic. And there's 6 schools, and you get to put those. You get to put 2 of those spells on your ability bar, as well as an ultimate ability that you also get to put on your bar. So you can have 2 normal spells and then an ultimate spell, and then you also have an evade as well that's tied to the space bar in the game. So the combat's, like I said, it's not super deep, but there's enough there where there's enough depth that it is interesting to kind of mix and match things and figure out what your combat style is, your preferred combat style is. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun with the game, and building the castle is really fucking awesome. The way the progression happens there. You start unlocking, like, you start out in all you can make are like wooden walls that don't when you create a room with them, you don't actually have a roof on top. So when you're in your castle, the sun will shine down during the day and you have to like hide behind your walls, or there are these braziers you can build that will put an area in shadow during the day by burning bones, which is kind of cool too. So but then eventually you unlock stone walls, which when you put stone walls around a room, that will automatically build a roof onto that room, um, and that will protect you obviously from daylight, of course. So that's interesting. Like, that's cool as well. I haven't gotten to the point yet where I'm making like multi-story castles or anything like that. Like, there are stairs in the game, so you can eventually, I'm assuming, have a two-story castle or 3-story castle or something like that, which is going to be very interesting and fun to kind of mess around with. And my castle is not very elaborate right now. I don't have enough, like, the progression is very slow. Like, unless you deliberately go and kind of harvest a bunch of resources, like, you are not going to have enough resources to build a very large castle right away. Like, it takes a lot of time in this game to kind of build your castle up and make it interesting, which is it's cool. I kind of like that slower progression to the game. It kind of feels very rewarding when you unlock the stone walls and you start building up you build a room and you have a roof on it and you're like, oh fuck yeah, like I have like kind of like a little mini fort now,
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So that's really cool. I will say the part of the game that I'm starting to get a little, not annoyed by, but is starting to flag a little bit, is just the way the game does the resource, not the gathering, but using the gathered resources to make things like crafting stuff in this game. So basically what the game has are a bunch of workstations that you have, and the workstations let you craft things. So there's a gear workstation. There's one that's like a woodworking station where you can make cosmetic wood that you use to make like tables and certain things, things that aren't like gameplay oriented within your castle. And then there's like there's an alchemy table where you can make potions and stuff as well. And then so there's that, which that part's fine. That part's not a problem. The issue I'm having is the other type of table that you can make in the game, or workstation in the game, are ones that turn materials into other materials, basically. So there's like a sawmill that you can make where it'll make like pure wood into planks. And then you'll have sawdust as well that you'll get from that. Or there's the grinder where you can turn stone into like bricks or something along those lines, and etc. There's like a whole ton of these. There's like 10 or 12 of them so far that I've unlocked. I'm pretty sure there's more as well that I'm going to get later. These tables, the way this works is you put the materials in, and the game will make your materials, or it'll fulfill the recipe for the materials you've put into the thing. So we'll just say the grinder, for instance, right? When you put stone in, it will make you bricks. However, that takes a certain amount of time for each material that it makes. So it takes like 20 seconds or something,
Okay.
literally like 20 real seconds. So it's kind of like mobile gamey in that way, right? And you have to sit there. You don't have to sit there and wait. The game will automatically, make those materials when you're out and about doing whatever. Like, you don't have to sit there and wait, but it takes a very long time to make a large amount of materials as a result, though. So if I put in 1,000 stone, like, dude, that takes 30 minutes to an hour to fully grind down into bricks, and you need a lot more than 1,000 stone to make a full stone castle. Like, it's very, very demanding with how much material you need to be able to make like the higher level stuff. So that's not an issue necessarily either, though. The problem I'm starting to run into, though, is that there are so many different types of these fucking stations that they all have recipes for specific things. And when I'm trying to craft something like gear, for instance, or potions, the game will tell you what you need, but it doesn't tell you where to make that. So I have to go to each station and remember which one makes that thing. And if I don't remember, I go walk to each station, and it's like, fuck, it's not this one either. Fuck, was it the fucking tannery that I make that at? No. Was it the grinder? Fuck, no, it was the fucking woodworker. It's like, so you walk to each station, and it's like, it's a bunch of wasted time. And unfortunately, I've not found so far in the game where you can see like a list of where everything is made. You have to go to each station to see what it makes. Maybe I just haven't found it yet. Or maybe it's something I unlock later. I'm not sure, but that's kind of my biggest criticism right now, is that it's becoming overwhelming to know where to make certain materials when you need to craft something like a specific piece of gear or something along those lines. And that is kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. So that's something I need to find a solution to, whether that's putting all my crafting tables next to each other, which they're currently not. They're all kind of separated. I'm trying to make like rooms that I'm going to put them all in, but maybe I'll line them all up into a bunch of rooms and have doors between each room that I can run through or something like that. I need to figure out a system that works. But yeah, so that's kind of the biggest criticism I have for the game right now. Otherwise, I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's a fun time. The map is huge. There's supposedly multiple maps in the game as well, which is interesting because the first one is fucking gigantic, and that is intriguing to me if there is another map. But the other thing I didn't mention in this game is you can play online. So I'm playing solo right now, offline by myself, but you can actually play the game online with other people as well, co-op. But the online mode is like Rust in that it has PvP. So you can go fight other people, you can fight other vampires or other players, but you can also go attack their castle and you can go take their shit. Like, you can steal their materials, you can destroy their castle entirely. You can actually take over their castle as well, as from what I understand, which is kind of interesting. So I don't want to do that by myself, but if you or Jed or anybody else from our group get into this game, I would love to mess around with the multiplayer mode with you guys, where like 2 or 3 of us kind of build our own castle and we're like fucking with other people's castles and stuff, and like raiding people and stuff like that and getting our shit raided. which would be really kind of interesting to see. I just don't know how it plays. Like, I would wonder at this point in the game's life, game's been out for a couple months. Is the game saturated with high level players now? Is it like, would it just be miserable, where we get fucking obliterated? I don't know, like, but so that would be I would definitely be interested to try that for sure. But right now I'm not doing that. I just want to play solo and kind of level my own shit up, because I cannot imagine, dude, playing online with how much time I put into this game where my shit gets destroyed. I would fucking rage, bro. Like, you no idea. I'd be so fucking pissed. So yeah, I really only want to do that co-op if anybody picks this game up. But yeah, so that's pretty much my thoughts on the game. I mean, are you interested in it? You did mention last night you were thinking about it.
Yeah, it looks pretty interesting. I might pick it up. I don't know. It just looks really interesting. And then the world being procedurally, I mean, the world not procedurally, but the world being a consistent online thing. I
Yeah.
I actually like that type of shit.
Hmm.
I know it'll suck if like our base gets destroyed, but I don't know. I just think it's cool for that to
With
happen
two
or
or three
whatever.
of us, we'd be able to build it up pretty quickly. Build it back
Yeah,
up pretty quickly. Like, when you're by yourself, it's a lot harder, to generate enough resources. But yeah, if there are two or three of us, like, I'm sure we could rebuild our castle pretty fast.
yeah,
So yeah. No,
yeah.
if you do get it, let me know.
All right.
Yeah. But yeah, do you typically like these kind of crafting games though?
Uh, in waves, I would say.
Okay.
If I have an objective or a goal, I just don't like crafting the craft. But
Yes,
if I have
I
a
agree.
goal or something like that, like there's some kind of end game, or like in this particular instance, like I'm pretty sure you got to craft to get stronger to beat the bosses, and
Yes.
I like that, so I would actually play because I have a goal in mind. But if it's just like the craft to keep maintaining this and keep doing it, then I
Yeah, with
probably won't.
no other goals going on in the game.
Yeah,
Like, there's no
like
other side
Minecraft,
progression or
I
anything.
don't like that
Yeah.
type of game.
I am
For me
100% the same
personally,
way.
yeah.
Yeah. I think the only other thing I'd say about this game that this might be controversial. The fans of this game may not agree with me on this, is that I would be interested in, maybe this would be an alternate mode they could introduce in the future, like a DLC or something, where they change the gear progression from crafting to like an ARPG style game, where it's actually loot just drops off enemies and you pick up gear and stuff.
Hmm.
That would require significant changes to the way inventory works and certain things like that, but it wouldn't break the crafting side of the game. It would really take out one element of it, which is gear crafting. There's so much other crafting that you do that has nothing to do with your character's power, that the game still has, that would all still be there. I would personally enjoy this game more, I think, if it had some more of that ARPG style loot driven to it. I don't really love crafting my gear. I just don't. It's not that interest. It's not interesting. Like, it's just, you get the stuff, you bring it to the workbench, you click the button, and bang, you have the awesome piece of gear. It's just not exciting to me. So I'm sure people who like this game though and like this style of game, like crafting games, would totally disagree with me. But that's just my perspective on it. It would be cool if it was an alternate mode, maybe, like you could play the game the original way, the way it is now, and then maybe they make another mode that has like gear drops and stuff. Would be kind of cool. I will say gear does drop off enemies sometimes, but it's just the shit you can make. Like, it's nothing, like, so far I haven't gotten anything like unique or anything that you can't craft. So maybe that happens later in the game. I'm not sure. I'm sure maybe there's a possibility of that later on, but so far it's just the crafted shit that you can make. So but it is a very fun game. I definitely recommend it. It's on Steam. It did get launched on PlayStation in June, so it's on PlayStation as well. Yeah, it's a really fun game. I'm looking forward to playing more of it. So, all right, Montreal, that's all I've been playing. What about you? What have you been playing, sir?
So yeah, I'm just slowly progressing in near, um, and I beat Vanquish one more time. Then I started playing Zenless Zone, whatever, ZZZ.
Zero. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been playing that. Um, I so the game is okay. Um,
Okay. So it turned on you because on Saturday you said you thought the game might have you.
yeah, it did, and then
You got to the
this
progression part of the game.
Not even that. It's just the
No?
story. They
Okay.
just won't shut the fuck up. Like I don't care about the
Oh
story.
my god.
Like
Welcome to Hoyoverse games, Montrell,
yeah,
where
like
they talk and talk and talk, and then they keep talking when they should have stopped talking 15 minutes ago.
yeah.
That's what they do, bro.
Like I can't even I am at the part where it's like you need progression and everything, but even like I don't even that part. I can see myself maybe spinning or buying stuff or trying to roll for characters or whatever.
Hmm.
Um, but then they have all these like little currencies and all these little
Yep.
intricacies that you got to upgrade this, like get this drive, to upgrade this drive, and this drive to do this drive. And I'm
Yep.
just like,
Well, then you got to level your characters, and then you got to upgrade their abilities, and then you got to get fucking artifacts for them. And I'm
yeah,
sure it's
and
all
I'm
the
just
same as
like,
Genshin, dude. Like, I'm sure it's
yeah,
all the same as Genshin.
it is. I'm just like, I
Oh, it's
don't
so
really care about
lazy,
the
bro.
numbers. I'm like, ooga booga, I want to
Yeah.
fight. That's how I am. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. To me, that's what like it's gonna. Maybe I'm characterizing like Devil May Cry players as like dude bros or whatever. But like, we just want to fight. Like, we just want to explore the mechanics of the game and
Right. You
like
don't need the
explore.
RPG part. Yeah.
Yeah. And even if there is an RPG part to it, how can that RPG part, be not exploitable, but be used to unlock or do a certain ability that I may need or something like that to extend my combos and stuff like that. So as far as the game, I think the game is really cool as the way they do their combos or whatever. Like, yeah, it's very flashy for one button. Then you have like a special button that you can do that you can either charge up or you build a gauge with it, and then you can do like an additional move or something like that. I gotta play the game a little bit more to actually name the mechanics. And then you can actually once you do that triangle move, or I'm playing on PlayStation, so that's why I'm playing
Hmm.
triangle. Once you do that move, like your special, it's not your special attack, but it's like more so your heavy attack. Once you do the specialized version of your heavy attack, you can swap, like the game kind of freezes, you can swap to another character, and then you can continue the combo to keep going. They do like they
Hmm.
come in with their assist and they do like a special assist to that character has or whatever. And you can like juggle enemies and stuff. And I thought it was very funny because one of my friends, he actually posted on the ZZZ Reddit, right?
Yeah.
And don't I, I'm just gonna fucking say it. I think players who play this game don't understand the game they have. All
Yeah.
they were doing, from what I understood before he posted on there, um, just like milking over the characters, bro. Like, oh my
Oh,
god,
yeah.
this character's hot. Oh, this
Oh, yeah.
character's very quirky and funny. And it's like
Yeah.
he posted this little combo vid, which really wasn't that good. I mean, it was a good combo vid, like because we just started playing the game, obviously. So I was like, oh, I looked at the combo, like, oh, I can do that. It's easy as fuck. I with the little wolf with the wolf kicking dude, or whatever.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh my god, look at what this user's doing with this combo system. I'm like, yeah, that's kind of what the game was implying. Like, are we not playing the same game? Like, they
Yeah.
were just so amazed by it, and I'm just like, I don't know. It was just like a moment for me. I was just like, people really don't play these games like the way I guess the developers intended them to be played, or
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just weird. It was very weird. Um, there are elements to the elementals to the game and everything, and I'm pretty sure once I get higher up and everything,
Mm.
those will definitely come into play, and I need to start leveling up certain elemental characters and start getting combos and fusing together. I think the combat is actually fun. I really wish this game was just a full fledged game, like instead of
Montreal, you're speaking my language, dude. You're preaching to the
yeah,
choir, bro.
yeah.
A Hoyoverse game in the style of Grand Blue Fantasy Relink is like my dream,
Yeah, I really
because
wish it was just like that, like or even just like a single like a couple characters or whatever. You don't have to swap them out. Just have a character with a full move set of like Devil May Cry, Near, or Bayonetta or something like that. Because
yeah,
I one thing I will say, like their animations, this animation team either is chained to the fucking ground and they cannot leave the fucking studio, or they're getting paid so
yeah,
well that they're like, I'm gonna go above and beyond for Hoyoverse or whatever. So I don't know which one it could be. It definitely can be either or. There definitely isn't a middle ground though. It's either one or the either one or the other. I'm sorry, y'all.
Yeah.
Because yeah, the animations and everything from the way they talk, the little quips and the fighting animations and all that stuff. It's like all this production is obviously here because they know they're gonna make the money back. But it's like, bro, why can't y'all just make an actual fucking game, like a 60, even a $30 game or something like that? Um, I I don't know. It's just I feel like it's a really wasted character action game behind a paywall, a gotcha paywall, and
Yeah,
it
behind a
sucks.
gotcha game. Yeah, no, and I'm kind of disenfranchised with Hoyoverse right now because um like Zenless Zone Zero looked really cool, but it's literally like it's just another game. It's a different world, it's a different setting, different combat system, but it's all wrapped up in their same little gotcha system, you
Yeah,
know? Like
yeah,
it's the same shit it's just a different type of game again, and it's like, man, this is the third game. I mean, how many more times are you guys going to do this? You know, like can you make something? You know, like how much money is too much money at a certain point? You know, this is a company that's making billions and billions and billions of dollars. You know, Honkai Star Rail's made billions of dollars. Genshin Impact's made billions of dollars. I'm sure Zenless Zone Zero is going to make billions of dollars. At a certain point, maybe let's make something more interesting. You know, it's like this is a company that has top tier character designers, top tier animation animation developers. This is a studio that has great art, incredible lore, you know, amazing
yeah.
fucking world design.
That's another
And
thing. This world seems very interesting,
yeah,
um, as well. Not to cut you off, but yeah, the world seems very interesting. I'm actually invested in the world
yeah.
and
Yeah,
the
but there's no
story
point.
surrounded it.
There's no point
Yeah.
because I'm going to tell you, this is what they do with their games. Genshin's like this, Honkai's like this. I guarantee you, Zenless is going to be like this too, where the story doesn't go anywhere. It just drags on and on and on and on because it has to be endless. You know,
Mm,
like it can't ever end. So there's never like a resolution to anything. So it's like you're just following a story forever and ever and ever and ever and ever, and it's just boring at a certain point. Like there's no resolution to anything. Like there are resolution to arcs for specific characters, but the overarching narrative never gets resolved, you know?
yeah.
And they expect you to follow the game for 8, 9, 10 years to resolve the main narrative. Like Genshin Impact, let's take Genshin for example, right? It's about to hit its 4 year anniversary in September. This is a game that is its main narrative is still continuing right now. Like it is not resolved and it's not close to being resolved. We are still at least 2 more years probably away from getting any kind of resolution of the main narrative that started the game. You know, so we're talking 5 or 6 years out from the game's launch. That is fucking insane, completely absurd. And I just got sick of it. Like I'm just over it. It's like make a game, just make a fucking single player game that's $60 or $70. Make it with your same level of quality. And yeah, you're not going to make billions and billions of dollars off it, but at this point, you have saturated the gotcha market. You have owned the gotcha market. You own the gotcha market. Do something a little bit more interesting, you know, like build out the portfolio a little bit, you know, because it will be a shame to me if they never break out of this mold. Because I genuinely do think that Hoyoverse is one of the best developers in the world from a pure talent perspective. It's just they don't like they're just not making interesting games to the majority of like what core gamers would want, you know, like console gamers would want. They appeal very much to the gotcha crowd for sure. And I have been part of that crowd. But for somebody like you, I had a feeling you were going to fall off this game because it just falls into the same tropes that it always does, and like you're not interested in that shit, dude. Like you don't want a game that's endless. Like you know that's not what you're looking for. You know,
Yeah, I just wanted
so
to, and I think, like you said, like they're sniffing their own farce with the story, and like maybe
definitely
Genshin does this, but Genshin had a point though where I can actually play the game for like hours and not
yeah,
interact with the story. I
true.
feel like this game doesn't really, and like I said, I'm only in like the first 10 hours, maybe the first 5 hours of the game or whatever. But I just feel like there's always going to be an element to where the story is going to come into place or people are going to talk to you because you have to talk to NPCs like regardless
Yeah,
to get
yeah,
quests and everything like that. And
right.
I don't know. I just don't think this is a good way to introduce your players to the world by constantly like locking them into the story. Like just let people play the game and then if I need to update something or whatever, like I can figure it the fuck out. Like I'm the type of person that I just like to figure it the fuck out. But like I don't know. I just also don't like how each upgrade has an upgrade that has an upgrade. I just don't like that shit. It turns me off. And I know it's a gotcha
Yep.
game. It just turns me the fuck off. Like
Right. Well,
I
they elongate character progression on purpose so that you spend more
yeah.
time playing the game, and
Yeah, exactly.
it's an overt, obvious thing that they're doing, and it's becoming a really annoying aspect of their games for me because it's like, do you expect me to play? You expect me to play your game every day for like 5 hours a day, you know? And it's like,
But I don't get the energy mechanic. I think this one has an energy mechanic where you got like
yeah.
you can
Where
only
like
do a certain
you,
amount of things or whatever.
they're
And
all their games are like that. Honkai's like that. Genshin's like that too. Yep.
I don't get that. So what's the point of locking
It's
the
a
player
mobile.
off?
It's I mean, because remember, all these games are mobile games. Don't forget,
Okay.
like they all are on mobile, and primarily that's actually where they make their money.
Okay.
They don't make their money on console and PC. So you got to keep that in mind with these games. They're still appealing to that mobile crowd, and that's what
Mm,
these games are. Is that energy stuff where you only can do a certain amount of stuff each day, but there are things outside of the energy mechanics that you can do, like stories and quests and exploring the open world. And in Genshin, for instance, that's not tied to the energy mechanic, but the core progression of your characters is going to be tied to that energy mechanic, and you can only do so much of that per day. So
yeah. I don't know. I think that's what turns me off these games. I'll just be like I'm like, man, like the game is really solid.
yep.
But then once I play the game and get invested in the game, I will actually just like not play it anymore because I'm just like I'm gonna be stuck behind this paywall and I don't feel like spending hundreds of dollars,
For a
to
waifu
spend in yeah on my waifu.
spinning a
Yeah,
fucking slot machine, yeah.
yeah. I just
Yeah,
don't.
no, it's not worth it, man.
Yeah, I just don't see the appeal as far as that aspect. But this game is very fun to play. Um, if someone said that the combat's really fucking good, uh I wouldn't even stop that because the assist mechanic in the game really adds a lot of layers to it and what you can do and how you can juggle enemies and everything of that nature. Like I had 3 characters that they gave me for free, and then I unlocked the character that I had with the free role they give you. And I unlocked the character, and I can juggle like bosses and stuff like almost infinitely with because I figured it out how to do it or whatever. Um, but it's just like and I don't mind the bosses taking forever to beat because it's like, oh, it's more combos for me. Like, and I understand that could be annoying for people though. Like they want to upgrade their characters or whatever so that they can beat the boss as fast as possible and then, min max their waifu
Oh
character or
yeah.
whatever. And
Yep.
I
Yep.
don't know. It's not the game for me. As well because like Devil May Cry, the mobile game tried to do this as well. Um, they switched it from a actual Devil May Cry game on mobile to like this type of game to where it was like a one button combo,
Yeah.
and then you can assist, you can hit assist or whatever. But this game is pretty unique. It kind of reminds me of like Kingdom Hearts combos though. How there is one button combo, but you can do other stuff. Like you can press another button to do like if you press a button here at this certain point of the combo, then the combo will kind of change. And that's what kind of
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts does. Um, even though there isn't no jump button in the game, which is weird, a weird choice for them in this game. Um the assist mechanic I think is very, very cool and everything of that nature. I don't know. Hopefully they change some stuff or they add some stuff or listen to feedback. I'm not really holding my breath because just from that one community post, how people were just so surprised you can do this with the actual game mechanics. I don't think the community is going to explore the game mechanics or actually request change in the game mechanics or combos or anything like that because they're going to be so min maxed,
Right.
waifu stricken,
Dude, like they're gonna suck Hoyoverse's dick, and like like I think people this is something I learned in the Genshin community, is that a lot of people who play that game, like, I don't think they have a lot of experience playing other games,
Yeah.
and I think that's gonna be true in Zenless Zone Zero as well. It's like, man, this it's like, it's not like it's bad, but it's not like they're innovating in any real way. Like this isn't something like this game is not something that hasn't been done before in other games, you know. It's just that these people who are playing this game haven't played any of those games, you know. So
Yeah.
so yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunately this is the issue. Like HoYoverse themselves need to figure this out. What we were talking about earlier is branching out. Their community is not gonna push them in that direction because that's just not the community they've fostered, you know. So, but all right. Anything else you're playing you want to talk about?
Nope, that's it.
All right. Well, let's move on to the news. Like I said, we got a good slate of news this week, and let's get started with some juicy Microsoft Game Pass, Xbox Game Pass news. So, Game Pass, this is unfortunate news. Really, this sucks, but we knew this was coming. Like, we did this last year. So, Game Pass's price is increasing, and we did this last year, increased last year, and I think we said at that point we expected it to increase again. And here we are. I think things are starting to take shape for Xbox and Game Pass in a real way where they're starting to have to make some decisions on it. They can't continue to just move forward the way they have been with it. And they're making the decision to squeeze the existing subscribers for all they're worth rather than build up the platform and the subscription service to get more subscribers. That is the direction they have decided to take, and we will see how that plays out. But let me go through and just explain the changes here. So, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, which currently costs $16.99 a month, is going to go to $19.99 a month. That is the primary service where you get PC Game Pass and you get console Game Pass. You get everything in Game Pass. So Ultimate is obviously the ultimate form of Game Pass. PC Game Pass is going to go from $9.99 to $11.99 a month. Game Pass Core, which is the one that is basically the replacement for Xbox Live, games with gold, etc. That one will stay at $9.99 a month, but if you want to buy it for a year, it's going to go from $59.99 to $74.99 per month. And then they are introducing a new tier. Xbox Game Pass Standard is going to be available to players at $14.99 a month. However, you will not, at this tier, you will not have access to day one titles, including the ability to pre-install these games and play them the day they release without having to purchase them. So the day one exclusives are getting pushed up to $20 a month on Game Pass Ultimate, and they're introducing this middle tier for the rest of the catalog, Game Pass Standard. So yeah, I mean, here we are, Xbox increasing their prices. Like I said, I think they're trying to squeeze as much as they can out of the existing player base rather than trying to strategize a way to increase the subscriber numbers. Montrell, what's your initial takeaways here?
I mean, it makes sense. This you can only rent games. Somebody put it for free for so long, or not for free, but for a subscription for so
Mm-hmm.
long before it starts to come back and bite you. I'm actually
Yep.
glad this is happening. I know I was like really, I was for it. I was for Xbox Game Pass when it first launched. But I thought it was going to be only pertaining to older games.
Right.
But then once newer games started getting added to it, I really started to be against it. And I really don't want games as a service or a streaming subscription service. I think it's an overall net negative for gaming in general. So
Yeah.
I'm glad this is happening because this is going to drive people more away from the Xbox Game Pass and maybe force Xbox to actually try to engage with making good games. I think the
Right.
showcase was an actual good example of that. Um, but I think they're trying to also take advantage of that showcase because they got such a positive
Definitely.
buzz. Now they want to raise prices. Also, this is going to be the first year Call of Duty's coming to Game Pass,
Yep.
so they want to maximize on that potential.
Maximizing value. Yep.
Um, and I mean, everything just makes sense. It just we all knew this was going to happen. The only thing they didn't do was lock it away from PlayStation at this point. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
that may come down the line if the Game Pass thing doesn't work out. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. I mean, unfortunately, I hate that it has to be this way, but we got to go through the storm before we can get to the sunshine. So, hopefully
Yeah.
this is like this will be a net positive in the end for us, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, I think the fact is that Microsoft they had to make a decision soon. There was nowhere for them to go with the status quo, right?
Yeah,
Because Game Pass, we know this for a fact, has not grown in any significant way in years. You know, it's been kind of stagnating around that 30 million, 35 million, somewhere in there, number of subscribers. And with console sales for them being as they are, where they sold 300,000 units, or what was it, 800,000 units in the last quarter. Um, that is such a there's not enough sales there to grow Game Pass on its own, and they have already saturated with the 30 million, 30 to 35 million number of subscribers. They've already saturated their Xbox market,
yeah,
because there aren't 30 million Xbox Series X's and S's out in the wild. There's probably 15 to 20 million, so where are the remaining coming from? PC and then Xbox One, is where the rest of those subscribers are coming from. And eventually, growing Game Pass in the short term just was not going to happen unless you added it to a different platform that it's not on, which would be Nintendo or PlayStation. Those are the only avenues you have to grow subscribers, really, with this, or put it on devices that aren't a console, which actually they did start doing. Apparently, you can get Game Pass, certain games on Game Pass on Amazon Fire TV sticks, I think.
yeah, yep,
This is a recent thing. So without expanding to platforms like that, though, you're not going to grow the subscriber base in any real significant way. So if you're trying to make more money in the short term, your literal only option was to increase the price of the subscription. So this is they've decided on their path. They want to make more money now, and I think there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but I also do wonder what that's going to do to the subscriber base. Like, are they going to lose a lot of people here? I'm actually very curious about that, because um, it does make me wonder, because I will say the showcase was impressive enough that it kind of gives any Xbox Game Pass subscriber at least some, I would assume, some things to look forward to. Most subscribers probably had something in that showcase that they were looking forward to. So would that mean that they would stick around because of that those games are coming, or is this price increase going to be enough where they shut the subscription down until such a day when those games release? And they'll come back briefly, and it'll become one of those kind of subscriptions. I don't know. It's kind of interesting. I guess we'll find out, I guess, is what I mean to say here. But I think Game Pass being their end all be all,
yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily the case anymore.
No, I
They're
think they need to do it more as a companion, like they did. I think it needs to be an expanse to like the Xbox Gold Silver thing or whatever. Like more so how
Yeah.
PlayStation is doing it. I think they need to switch their model to that, and I think they really need to go back to the backwards compatibility thing. I think that
Mhm.
was their one shtick that a lot of people were praising them on,
Yeah.
and uh, I think you just need to pedal these games out. I think you need to make just better quality games. They have the capital to do it.
Definitely.
They have the talent to do it. There really
Yep.
isn't any reason rather why they aren't even close to PlayStation right now. It's just
Right.
a motivation thing they don't have. Um and they're just trying to do I think they're approaching video games like shareholders where they need to approach video games like gamers. Um
Yeah.
and I think that's the one thing that Nintendo does well. They approach games like actual gamers, and you can see it with the directs and everything like that. I think I mentioned that a couple weeks ago, where like the Xbox showcase, the PlayStation showcase, and the Xbox showcase, they're now starting to get the Nintendo format where they just show video games. But before, like the state of play and the Xbox showcase or Xbox Inside Xbox or whatever the case they used to do with their updates, it was more so like they always did it as a presentation for shareholders. this is this is the games we have coming down to future. Invest in us now type situation. Whereas like Nintendo, I felt like I was on a. Well, every time I watch a direct, I feel like I'm on a shopping channel. Like I feel like I'm in the Wii U shopping channel or the
Yeah.
Wii shopping channel,
Bum, bum,
and
bum, 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 bum,
yeah,
bum.
and the direct feels like an actual direct thing because I'm the consumer. I come to your mall for video games, and these are the video games you have coming out. There's no, I mean, they do have like the CEO there and stuff like that, but it's always like it always feels like that cheesy video game shit. It's not for the shareholders. It's for video gamers because we that's the shit we like about Nintendo. Uh, I did like the Xbox showcase because it was just world premiere, world premiere, world premiere. This only on Xbox, world premiere, and it's like that's what I like. That's what I need to do. And I think they need to take that same approach to video games. They need to just make good fucking video games. Your subscribers, if a product is good, people will flock to it. I don't
Mm.
understand why business is so hard sometimes. I understand like opening a business is hard and everything of that nature. Like a small business, yes, that's super hard. Medium sized business or whatever, that's super hard, right? But if you have an established brand, I don't understand how hard it is to just make a good fucking product and understand people will flock to that good product. You have to put any gimmicks behind it. Like I feel like Game Pass is a gimmick. It's nothing but a band-aid to hide the failures.
The
And it's
lack of
like
quality they
their
have on the
lack of quality,
platform.
exactly. Whereas PlayStation, they're barely fucking trying, in my opinion, as far as like innovating and trying to bring new services out because their games are speaking for itself. The platform is speaking for itself. Then people they milk or not milk, but they sprinkle that stuff in there. Like, oh, here's the little the little PlayStation movie service we got in here and everything like that. Because I'm on your ecosystem already, and okay, I'm done playing video games. Let's see what else you have to offer, or your PlayStation Music, or your PlayStation rent game service or streaming service or whatever. And that's how you expand that. And it's like Xbox is working like like from the top down instead of working from the bottom up, and
Mhm.
it's very
Well,
dumb
they
in
hurt
my
their
opinion.
console, dude. They
Yeah,
hurt their console with Game Pass. Like nobody on Xbox buys games.
yeah, yeah,
We
exactly.
don't see Xbox games in the Circana reports, fucking ever. Like Starfield is like the only one in the fucking history, the entire history run of this show that I feel like it's charted on Circana in like the 5 or 6 years we've been doing this. It's like that's insane, and that's because of Game Pass. And I think it's interesting. I almost feel like maybe I don't know. I feel like I risk taking too much out of this decision, but I do feel like this is kind of an indicator that they might be recommitting to hardware here. You know, um, that they're that like because if Game Pass was the thing they wanted to continue to push, I'm not sure they would do this.
Yeah,
Because it's a risk to you're going to lose subscribers off these kind of decisions doing this, especially so soon after the last price increase. Um, is that they're trying to make money now. Like it's about profitability of this service now. It's not about growing the service anymore. And that's an interesting place to see Xbox go, which to me tells me that in terms of long term, Game Pass is maybe not necessarily the answer. It's back in the space of like consoles have to be it. So I don't know. It kind of I'm gonna be really interested about their next gen push because it's probably coming soon. Like I think we're going to hear about the next Xbox console in the next year, maybe year and a half at most. Because I think it's going to be out by the end of 2026. Like I
yeah,
like that just feels the direction they're going because they've lost this generation so hard. It's over. Like they need to reset. So I don't know. It's their midterm future is very interesting to me. The short term for them is not super interesting to me. It's really there's a few games I'm interested in, but it feels like the Xbox series of consoles are already dead.
yeah.
So
Unfortunately,
so yeah, we'll see. I will say I could see another price increase, not too far off as well. Maybe coinciding with the new console, potentially or something like that. But um, yeah, because $3 per subscriber per month is a lot, but it's not enough to generate the type of profits that Microsoft probably wants off a service like this. So yeah. Anything else you want to say on that?
nope, that's it.
All right, moving on. Riot Games. There's a report out there that they had a Smash Brothers style fighter in the works, and they have canceled it. And this was reportedly due to the performance of Multiverses from WB, which came back after a year and a half of being gone after its initial kind of beta. And that game is not doing well. Did not make the splash that WB was hoping. And it seems like Riot took note and has canceled this Smash Brothers style fire, which was codenamed Pool Party. Interesting name. But Montrell, did you know about this game?
No,
I
I
don't think
had
we've heard
no.
about this before, right? Like,
No, I just heard about it this week. They never mentioned this game at all.
huh,
It's kind of interesting that they stopped it because of the pool party or because of
Multiverses.
multiverse, which I think they actually would have benefited a lot more
Mm-hmm.
from it. But I mean, it would have been fun, but I don't think it's necessary. They already have okay,
2XKO or whatever.
yeah, whatever the fuck that it has the dumbest
It's a
fucking
weird
name.
name. Yep.
Yeah, um, they already have that coming out, so I don't think they really needed this game, and that's probably another reason why they canceled it. Um, it probably just would have been wasted resources, and people would have complained about it. So, um, I don't know. But I do think it would have been cool. Uh, even if it was just a small project, I think it would have been cool. But um, yeah, unfortunately, no.
Yeah, I think a long time ago, back before Multiverses and Brawlhalla and Nickelodeon's whatever the fuck, and even PlayStation All Stars Battle Royale, when Smash Bros was the only fighter like this that was like a character fighter with different characters from different IPs and stuff like that. Um, I thought it was something that industry should chase more. Is that why is nobody making Smash Bros style games with their IP? And that was like 15 years ago that I felt that way. This was probably the Brawl era during the Wii, and now I couldn't be more turned off by these games now because I don't even play Smash anymore, really. But it's just the idea that anyone is going to make a game of the quality level of Super Smash Brothers with their IP is it's like laughable, it's just not going to happen, um Sakurai, I believe is his name, the director of those games, of the Smash Bros games. He is so meticulous to the point of craziness with the Smash Bros games. Like those games are immaculate, as video games in terms of just like an objective, like technical game. They play so fucking well, and they're so well constructed and made, and the way characters control is so good, nowadays. And what they got to with Smash Ultimate was just like I personally felt like they don't need another Smash Brothers game. I'm sure they'll make one, but that really was the ultimate form of Super Smash Brothers. And it's just I feel like these games just don't have, there's just no appeal to them. It's like I'd rather just see them put Batman in Super Smash Brothers than make your own fighter with Batman in it.
Yeah,
That's kind of the point we're at with this. Is like I'd just rather see everybody put their characters in Super Smash Brothers than make a game.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I think that Nickelodeon Smash Brothers game is kind of like a a prime example because uh at first when it was released, it had the characters and had the move set, but it had no character sounds or quips or anything like that. Then
Right.
they added that later, and it was just
Yep.
like, but just that one thing where they did that took so much out of the game. I was just like, oh, so this is like playing these other games. Even when I play like Brawlhalla and all that other stuff like that, playing those games, I was like, wow, I see why Smash Brothers is like premium shit
King.
now.
Yeah.
Like it's the king because other companies just don't get it. Like you can emulate it, you can, oh, they should do this, they should do that, but it's just like it doesn't really match the quality. They even don't match the quality of Brawl. And Brawl was like objectively the worst Smash Brothers game,
Yeah.
and
Right.
they don't match the quality of
Yeah.
Brawl at
They don't.
all. Um, and people still play Brawl. So it's just like all those games, even the original Smash Brothers for the 64, like had so much soul in it. It was on like what 13, 14 characters in that game.
Dude, that game was it was 12. That game was so
12.
fun, dude.
Yeah.
That game like Smash Bros 64 is like obviously I haven't played it in a very 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 long time. Melee kind of destroyed the need to play it, but
Yeah.
it was such a fun game though for that period of time. Like it really had something special, and it still does. I think if you go back and play it now, it's very unique within the Smash Bros kind of pantheon of games because obviously it controls so differently than any
Yeah.
of the ones that come afterwards. So it's really unique in the franchise, but it was so goofy, dude. Like it's such a fucking goofy game, and it's like that's something else that Nintendo kind of captured with that is they're not necessarily afraid to make these games funny at the same time. Like there's really funny elements. Just like all the Pokemon, like all the Pokeballs in the original Smash Brothers are fucking hilarious, dude. Like the way Snorlax just pops out of the ball, just like Snorlax, And there's
Yeah.
the fucking level with the Pokemon town where you're on the skyscrapers and the Pokemon like pop out of one of the buildings and like they just say like the sound bites are so fucking ridiculous where it's like Charmander's just like Charmander, he's just like screaming at you, or coughing is
I
like
mean, yeah,
fucking
they were
hilarious.
just
Like,
they were geared around fun, and I
it's
think
just goofy.
Melee,
They were trying to be fun. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
and I think Melee was geared around fun
The
too.
hammer, bro. Dude, the fucking hammer was hilarious anytime anybody got the fucking hammer. Like people are screaming and yelling, like, no, don't hit me. It's like
Yeah, it's just I don't know. I think people just need to understand like I think people forgot what Smash Brothers was about. It was just about a fun party game. And I think
Yep.
even Ultimate leaned too heavy
Lost that.
into the competitive aspect of it.
Mhm.
I actually love Melee, and the reason I love Melee is not because of all the mechanics. I mean, the mechanics were fucking great. Don't get me wrong. Um, and when you watch that one little video that was hidden in the menu, it was like a 5 minute long video, like of the developers just playing the game,
Mm.
and
Mhm.
you remember that it was like real. It was well edited and everything like that, and they
Mhm.
showed one part where someone was like wall jumping, and I'm like, you can wall jump in this game, and
Yep.
and then they showed Donkey Kong throwing the bob bomb back and forth and catching it, and I was like, you can
Catching it.
catch stuff
Yep.
in this game,
Yep.
and
Yep.
and I don't know, it was just like really fucking cool, and I know kids. I mean, I don't mean like to be the old guy, but it's just like kids don't understand the the quality of like unlock or the feel of unlocking the character. You're just randomly playing with your friends, and then the one friend that wins, a character is like, oh, a challenger has appeared, and your friend has to beat that character to unlock it or whatever the case may be. So it's just like I don't know, it's just really cool. And since
Mhm.
everything's so monetized, like that's why multiverse doesn't work for me. That's why the Nickelodeon game doesn't work for me. I would love to be
Right.
playing as Velma in multiverse, actual paid multiverse game, and then I unlock LeBron James like randomly. Like I think like
Yeah.
that. I think that's what people don't understand about Smash Brothers was the random element of the game, the mysterious element of the game. We didn't know what characters were going to be in the game, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
And I
Well, that's
think
the other reason Ultimate was unfortunate was the way characters were unlocked. Like
exactly,
they had very specific unlock conditions in the older games, and they went away from that in Ultimate. Where, well, they still had specific unlock conditions, but they also had a like as if you played a certain amount of the game, you just unlocked a random character every so often, and that was the way most people unlocked all the characters. So it's
yeah.
just like I don't know, it just took away from that old school kind of element to the game.
And I don't know, maybe I would have liked for um and I know like that would probably never happen because of, like monetization or everything like that. But I would have liked for updates to just happen and then they're like, "Oh, we just updated the game or whatever and we added five mysterious characters." And then you just unlock those five mysterious characters. Like and that's the update or whatever instead of like paying for the character or whatever the case may be. And
Hmm.
I don't know any way to actually do that without like monetization nowadays. But I thought that would have been like super dope or whatever, you know.
Also, just the marketing of it. Like, remember with Ultimate, right? The marketing of Ultimate was they ended up revealing every character. Like there were no. I think there might have been one or two characters they didn't unveil before the game came out, but it was like very few, you know, if they did at all. And I think that was another element to Smash Bros. That was so fun, dude. Like I remember when Brawl came out, like we didn't know all the characters that were going to be in the game, you know. Like when you get the game and you unlock like fucking Sonic, you know, and you're like, oh my fucking god, are you kidding me? Sonic's in Smash Brothers, like what? Like that was unthinkable, you know? Like Sega and fucking Nintendo were arch enemies, you know, in the 90s.
yeah,
You know, it's like and to think they would put Sonic into a fucking Nintendo character fighter is insane, you know? Or Snake being in there, like that shit was crazy, dude. You know, it was like, what the fuck is Solid Snake doing in here? You know? But you know, so I don't know. There's just some elements. Unfortunately, I think the modern day just inherently kind of ruins some of the aspects of these games. And we're getting off track though, like with Riot in particular, right? A League of Legends Smash Bros style game sounds kind of cool, actually, like really fun. But they really would have needed to lean, in my opinion, into the goofy aspect of it versus trying to be a serious fighting game. They already have their serious fighting game. Like 2XKO is the serious fighting game. This would have needed to be a lot more like comedic and party vibes, you know, to me, where you almost lean into couch co-op, you know, instead of trying to go into that more serious competitive online aspect of the game. So I just don't
yeah,
know if Riot has that audience though, you know,
yeah. I
nowadays.
think games just needs to start. I mean, I understand they're owned by corporations and all the other shit like that, and they got to do what they got to do. But I think it's really something special with like just unlocking characters. Like even like Tekken got away from like because Tekken had the same thing where you can just unlock hidden characters.
Yeah.
But they got away from that obviously because you got to pay for the new characters, and everybody wants to know what the new characters are. And it's just like I really wish we can just go back to the old style where we just unlock characters and you're you're playing someone online and they have a character that you've never fucking seen before. You're like, what the fuck
Yeah.
is this? You know,
Yeah.
I think that would just be cool, like just to kind of go back to that. And I think that's actually what people love about. I mean, we're going super off track with this one. We don't have to go down the rabbit hole, but that's what people love about
Mhm.
Elden Ring, is because they put shit in there that the community finds, and we just find it, and we're like, wow, this is fucking
Right.
crazy.
They didn't tell us every aspect of the game before it came out, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. And that
Um,
is to Elden Ring's credit, right? Is you know, it was a game that had a lot of hidden secrets, and that I think that's something that FromSoft actually does a really good job of, is kind of keeping stuff close to the chest, you know? Like they don't reveal everything, you know? And I think that's important with a game. I think marketing like gets crazy sometimes with some of these games where they just they want to reveal the whole game because they want people to buy it. It's like, well, you're almost taking away from the reason to buy it when you show too much of it, you know?
yeah.
It's like movie trailers, right? Like when you see a movie trailer and it spoils the whole movie and you know it does before you go see it, it's like, why am I even gonna go watch this fucking movie then? You know, it's kind of, you know, it's a little harder to do that in games, but sometimes companies have done it. You know, it's like with certain types of games where there's no story. You know, if if you reveal too much about mechanics or characters or modes or things like that, you don't leave anything secret. Um, Kind of kills some of that mystique of buying something and experiencing it for the first time. You know, when people come in already expecting certain things. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say on this one?
Well, nope. That's it.
All right, let's move on. Our next story, Exo Primal, is not being shut down, but they are not making any more content for it. Capcom has announced this game came out a year ago. I believe it was in June last year, I want to say. So it's been a little over a year, but Exo Primal is done, Montreal. It's another live service game that is going bye bye. And this is in the We're kind of in the middle of watching Suicide Squad die in real time. It feels like from Rocksteady as well. So I mean, this isn't big news, but I kind of wanted to talk about it in the context of we haven't talked about live service in a while, and man, when are companies going to stop flooding the market with these games?
Unfortunately, when companies like Hoyoverse stop making them, even it's a gotcha live service game, I think people are still high off Destiny. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they're still high off PUBG. They're still high off Warzone. Um, and they still want to cash in on it. And I think they put money into this game
Mm-hmm.
and it was already made, and they were like, we just gotta release it. Like we already made it, you know.
Yeah.
And that's me personally, what I think happened. Because
Uh,
the time this was released, uh the marketing for it, or this is around the time that all those games died. Those yeah, just hella fucking live service games died. And and on top of that, this also had a backlash effect too, because I don't know what it is with Cap. And this is a pet peeve of mine with Capcom, me personally. Um, they have this thing of trolling their fans. I have no fucking idea where they get it from.
mm-hmm.
Because not only was it a dinosaur game, and people have been begging for a Dino Crisis remake.
Mm.
One of the characters in the game looks like Regina from Dino Crisis. So it's like a white lady with with really red hair and everything like that. That's how Regina looks in I think her name's Regina. Let me see if I'm saying her name right. I don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
saying it. But that's the main character of Dino Crisis, or that's how she looks in Dino Crisis. Um, and when we saw her, I was like, oh my god! I remember watching the chat too. Everybody was like, is that Regina? Dino Crisis, and it wasn't. And it was like a total bait and switch. They knew what the fuck they were doing. Maybe it was like a little Easter egg, but nobody asked for this game. And
Well,
and I commend them for trying something new,
mm-hmm.
but it's a live service game and no one wanted it. Like we already have our dinosaur hunting game, and that's Monster Hunter. So
Yeah. Well, so to be fair to Capcom, though, do you think that maybe they looked at this game and they were like, we don't want to put the Dino Crisis IP on this? Like, that maybe it wasn't good enough and they just wanted to protect the IP?
um I seriously doubt that. I think they really thought this was gonna take off. And like I'm gonna link this article here real quick to you, real quick. Hold on.
Yeah.
Um, but
I mean, the game's all time peak of players on Steam was 5,000. So it's not,
yeah, so I put it in
it's
the
not,
chat there, and then
yeah.
so if you open it, on the left is Regina, and on the right, or I'm sorry, yeah, on the left
So,
is Regina, and then on the right is the Exo Primal, just some random character in the game, and everybody thought that was Regina,
mm-hmm.
because it looks almost exactly like her.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, and it's about dinosaurs and stuff like that. And maybe in some weird world, maybe you're right. Maybe they did try to. This is a spinoff of Dino Crisis, but they didn't want to say that.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know, man. It's so weird. I think they tried to also do like the Anthem thing, but like I don't know, fighting against dinosaurs. Like the game looked okay, but
It's just not an interesting idea, though.
yeah, it's not, man. Like I don't know, man. like
Like, this is the thing with live service, right, dude? Isn't like think about the last 10 years of these games, right? The ones that have become big were at the time of their release fairly unique, you know? Like Destiny was unique, you know? There wasn't really a game like it. Fortnite was fairly unique when it came out, you know? Like it was actually pretty unique actually in retrospect. Like obviously the battle royale was aping PUBG, but it was a totally different gameplay style, you know, to PUBG. So it's like I think if you're gonna bust into this space, like you have to have an idea that is really different. You can't be derivative, copying another company's game, or you know what? To be honest, at this point, this community is so degenerate. I'm just gonna say it is like, bro, just make a fucking gotcha game. They fucking all make money. So, like, that seems to be the path for live service games. If you really want to make one, is just make a fucking gotcha game. Because yeah, they pretty much all have some level of revenue success. They don't all survive forever. There's plenty of them that have shut down, but it's like it feels like a way to at least make some money. Whereas Exoprimal, like, do you think that Capcom made any money on Exoprimal? There's no fucking chance, dude. Like,
No, and you know what? Like I said, I commend the game for being very video gamey, right? Like
yeah.
another dimension where dinosaurs are just randomly popping out, right? And it's
Hmm.
like it would have been cool. Well, I think it's a paid game. You have to pay for the game, right? It's not a free to play game, right?
Yeah. Oh, is that true?
I think you have to pay for this game.
Let me look. I'm gonna go to Steam. So Primal, you do. It's $60. What
Yeah. So not only did you insult us, right, with like the blue balls of Dino Crisis, I have to pay $60 for this game, and it's an
Yeah.
online only game. That's crazy to me. And I mean, you're not Destiny. You know what I'm saying? Destiny already got us with that, and I don't think, and the Anthem did it with us. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So we had all these games try this already, and we already been through those games. The only game I can legitimately see coming back is Anthem. If Anthem today was like, we're doing Anthem 2.0 right now, I think people will actually flock to that game. But that's, I don't want to say established IP, but it just had more soul in it compared to this
Mhm.
game. Now, this game looks fun as fuck, but it's almost like
Mhm.
fighting hordes of dinosaurs doesn't really, for me personally, doesn't really do anything for me. Like, I'm just like, all right, where's the skill in this game? Like,
Well,
yeah, I'm
it
fighting
feels like
hordes
an
of dinosaurs.
idea. It feels like an idea somebody in a room, like in a meeting, was like, "What if we had a first-person shooter where you fight dinosaurs?" And everybody was like, "Oh man, that sounds awesome!" But when you like really sit down and think about it, it's like it's not that cool.
Yeah,
It's not that interesting.
you got these fucking,
It's
exosuits, man, and you can play different roles, and you're just fighting hordes of dinosaurs, and it's like,
like, what types of dinosaurs are you fighting? You're fighting a giant T-Rex, and then you're fighting like a smaller version of a T-Rex, or like some pterodactyls or something. It's like there's really not that many, unless you get zany with the way you're designing the dinosaurs. Like, it's you start putting like fucking missile launchers on them and shit. It's like you're not.
yeah, that could have been cool, but I don't think they did anything like that.
Yeah, the different types of gameplay you're going to end up getting is it's going to be a horde mode where you're just pressing the S key, backing up, shooting all the time. Like, it's not that interesting, as a first person shooter conceptually. Like, it just doesn't sound that fun to me. But I don't know. It's just another one of these games, It's like the live service. I just like when is the industry going to learn its lesson? It's just. I mean, you're right. I think as long as companies like HoYoverse exist, making billions and billions and billions of fucking dollars, it's just I don't understand how you watch HoYoverse making anime waifu gotcha games, and then you look at your live service game where you're shooting dinosaurs in these really sterile exosuits, and you're like, oh yeah, our game's gonna make a ton of money just like Genshin Impact. It's like, no, what? No, it's not. No, what the fuck? Like, no, it's nobody's gonna give a shit about this game.
Yeah,
It's just like I don't know. Like they don't understand why Genshin Impact successful, but you're trying to emulate like the structure of it in a different type of game. It's just I don't know, dude. It's just
yeah. I mean, and I'm as we were talking, I'm trying to look for high level like exoprimal stuff, and maybe they do have dinosaurs with missile launchers and stuff on them, but they don't.
mhm.
It's just another dinosaurs, and it's like you only get 4 skills. You get cooldowns on your 4 skills. Um, I don't know. It looks like a it looks like it would have been a cool spin-off of a Monster Hunter game. Like, woo, if this was set in the future. Like That would have
Yeah.
been cool. Almost like Fantasy Star Online type situation. It's honestly what they could have fucking done.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just a horde style game, and it's just like, and it's 4 players, and it reminds me of Lost Planet. I don't know if you ever played that game.
No, I didn't, but I know what it is.
Yeah, Lost Planet 2 in particular. That game was like you can play that game offline, but it had like a really unique 4 player unique co-op experience with it as well. And that's what the game kind of reminds me of, but they targeted this game around being co-op and everything of that nature. And uh I don't know, man. Like when I saw the game be released, I genuinely didn't understand who this was for. Like what audience was this for? I was mind boggled. I'm like, who is this for? Like this can't be.
Right.
I don't I don't know, man. And like it's kind of hard to knock on them because it's like it is a brand new IP and they're trying something new and different. But then it's just like a live service horde mode shooter. Like horde
Yep.
modes were cool as a add-on to the game. Like you had
Mm-hmm.
the main game and then you had horde mode or whatever. And it
Right.
seemed like they tried to be, and even like Left 4 Dead, like Montrell, Left 4 Dead is a horde mode, but that had like a whole little story to it. Um, you can play the entire game offline, and then you can play it single player. And you had couch co-op, and that was a unique experience. And if I want to play a game like that, I would just go back and play Left 4 Dead 2 or even Back
Yeah.
for Blood. You know,
Yeah.
like this had none of it. It was mission based and all this other stuff. So I'm when I'm looking at the game, I'm just like, I have Monster Hunter. Like that's all I can think about. To be honest with you, I have Monster Hunter. I can just play Monster Hunter. You
Yeah.
know, so I feel bad for this development team. I honestly think in my heart of hearts they were like stress testing the new Resident Evil engine, the RE engine or whatever it's called now.
Mm-hmm.
And this was a part of the stress test and they just made a game out of it. Cuz like
Yeah.
you can spawn literally hundreds of dinosaurs on the screen without lagging, and it runs at 60 frames per second and it looks gorgeous. The game looks fucking gorgeous. But at the end of the day, it's like, it is what it is. And like you said, I don't know who these games are made for, or I don't know why they're keep trying to bite off this live service mentality, because even the one game that, knock on wood, should be live service but isn't in a
Yeah.
way is Monster Hunter. And like
Yeah. Right.
the reason why people love those games is because it's a game first. Destiny was in my opinion, literally the only game to get away with murder as far as like what they
Yeah.
did.
I
You know?
agree. Totally. I think people played Destiny because of the potential of what it could be, not what it was at launch.
Yeah, exactly.
You
If
know,
Destiny came out today, it would definitely be
it
100.
would
Like
fail.
it would fail 100%.
Yeah. It's because I mean, this was 10 years ago, dude. Like, we didn't have any games like Destiny, That was my point. At the moment Destiny came out, it was very unique, even though it lacked content.
If I can go back in time and stop the release of Destiny, I would. I think that spawned a terrible genre of games, in my
It
opinion.
did. Yeah, no, it did for sure. I mean,
Des-
Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League is kind of a
Essentially,
spawn out of that, right?
yeah, it's essentially Destiny all over again.
Which is crazy. It's just, dude, like, I don't know. I just get
7
so
years to
frustrated.
Suicide Squad,
Bro, you ruined Rocksteady. Like, WB ruined Rocksteady for what? To chase the live service model? And then they're like, remember that story a few months ago where their fucking CEO was like, yeah, we want to make more live service games going forward, It's like, bro, like, you are the poster child for why you shouldn't be making live service games. What are you talking about? Like, what world are you living in? Like, I don't understand. It's like you made the biggest single player game probably in 20 fucking years in Hogwarts Legacy last year. You literally outsold Call of Duty last year. Like, am I missing something? Like, dude, Elden Ring didn't outsell Call of Duty. It's like what? you know, and it's like you're like, oh, we got to make more live service games. Like, what? Like, it's just these guys are fucking clueless, Montrell. Like these fucking executives in these companies, they're so fucking clueless, man. Like,
I just, I don't know. I don't know who to blame. Like, do I blame us, the gamers? Like, do I
definitely,
blame?
we are absolutely 100%
Yeah.
culpable. Fucking no question. I'm in that group. I'm not throwing shade at anybody else. Like I fucking play Genshin Impact, bro. I play Honkai Star. Like I'm part of the problem, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
And but it's like I can throw a little bit of leeway for people who play Honkai and Honkai Star well, even Destiny 2.
I mean, they're at
Right?
least good games, right? Like I'm not just playing like
They're
a dog
free,
shit,
right?
you know.
They're
And that's
free.
true too. They're free, yeah.
You
Right.
know, so it's like you're well, Destiny 2 wasn't free and then it became free, which is a huge slap in the face of people who bought into Destiny the first season, in my opinion, which I was one of those people. But yeah, those are free games at the end of the day or whatever. And you get what you put into those games, in my opinion, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and that's a whole different conversation. Uh, but you have to have a good game underneath that, right? The
Yeah.
reason, like, and this is kind of going off topic, but like Apex, for example, right? The reason why
Mhm.
that game survived for 4 to 5 years and was competing with Warzone and Apex was because under all the bullshit, under all the microtransactions, under all the hackers, we still legitimately, when we had the highs of that game, nothing can
Mhm.
fucking touch that game. Like,
Right.
you can't show me a better shooter, online PvP shooter,
Yeah.
than fucking Apex Legends. But
Yeah,
like now
dude.
the game's about to die because they're just too greedy and they won't stop hackers. You know? So it's like I don't know, man. Like, and then like for Capcom, I honestly think Capcom was a little bit late. If this game had came out like 4 years ago, it probably would have been better.
Yeah.
You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Yeah. But we didn't have
Yeah, no.
technology for it, or
Yeah,
whatever.
no, I definitely see. I feel you. It's just I think any of these games that were released earlier probably would have done better though, right? Like it's
Because we didn't
we
know
are
any
where we
better.
are now, you
Yeah,
know?
the gamers didn't know any better and everything like that. I really feel like the big nail in the coffin for live service games though was Anthem. When Anthem released, a lot of people woke up and were like,
Bro, that was
"Oh,
fucking 5 years ago though. Like what, you know,
it
it's like
was 5 years ago."
no,
Holy
it's like
shit!
it's long enough now that companies should have been canceling these games or not greenlighting them in the first place. It's like I don't know why you think your game is going to take people away from Fortnite. I don't know why you think that, you know? It's just or like why do you think that they're going to leave Fortnite? They're going to leave Destiny 2. They're going to leave fucking even Apex. They're going to leave League of Legends. Like no, they're going to leave Genshin Impact? No, dude, they're not. They're invested in these games, you know? They've spent hundreds of dollars in these games. Why would they leave those games to come to your game? The only way it's going to happen is unless you're doing something very interesting, you know?
Hmm.
And it's like, I'm sorry, Exoprimal, but there's nothing remotely interesting about this game, you know?
Well, they
Um,
this is a trend that continues to the test of time for video
yeah.
games. Remember when
No, I
Halo
know.
was on top, and
Yep.
every first person shooter that came out was dubbed the Halo Killer, the Halo
Oh
Killer.
my
This is the
god.
Halo Killer. Until
Yeah.
Call of Duty 4 came out, and Call of Duty 4 didn't even dub itself as the Halo Killer. It was just like, we're Call of Duty 4, and this is Modern
Yeah.
Warfare. And
Right.
the reason why Call of Duty 4 took off so well is because, first of all, obviously we were at war with Afghanistan and stuff like that,
Mm.
and our equipment was being more modernized, and that was like a really weird period. Like a lot of y'all don't remember, but I don't know, Justin, you probably remember. A lot of stuff was being pushed towards the military. Like a lot of propaganda movies were coming out, and it kind of
Yeah.
had an influence on
Oh
me.
yeah.
But we had like movies like Shooter come out, and then had all these like SWAT team movies come out and everything, and they were showing how modern equipment on guns were a thing. And on top of that, I think in 2004, Bush got rid of the assault weapons ban. So now you can buy ARs again. So
Yeah.
ARs are becoming popular, and then all the rifle attachments and all that stuff like that. And people were saying, you know, I remember seeing in Call of Duty 4 the EOTech fucking hollow sight thing. I was like, and in my girlfriend at the time, she was actually working in one of the factories that made EOTechs, and she was like, "Hey, I
Oh
make
wow.
that," which is really fucking cool. Um,
Yeah.
so like you had all so Call of Duty 4 came out at like a really good time because all we were getting was Halo and then uh World War II shooters. And they were like, we're gonna modernize this shit. And it was like very unique. And they did put a different spin on that. That's what you're talking about. They brought something very new to the table to where people were like, what the fuck? They had kill streaks, which was really wasn't a thing. Like
Hmm.
they brought all these features. They modernized the way first person shooters were played.
Yeah.
You know, the aim down sights, the dual. I mean, obviously we had dual sticks or whatever before that, but they just kind of modernized the controls to which is being used to this day.
Hmm.
Um, and we they essentially killed Halo because Halo had to try to be like them now. And
Yeah.
but they didn't dub themselves as a Halo killer. Infinity Ward came out and was just like, this is what we're gonna fucking do. Like, this is what we know how to do, and then this
Yeah.
is what we're gonna modernize it. And or we're gonna take it to the next level. And unfortunately, none of these games you can't take, in my opinion, you can't take live service to the next level. You know what the next level is for live service games? MMOs, and we already got those.
That's fair. I think live service certain like games that are structured like an MMO, like Genshin and Honkai and stuff, like they are just MMO light, you know.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
Destiny's MMO light, and you're totally right. There is no evolution to the formula. The evolution of the formula came out before this formula existed, you know. And so
Exactly.
it's like, where did they go? There's no that. I think that's why I got like really disenchanted with Honkai and stuff, Wuthering Waves and shit like a couple weeks ago, because I'm just like, these games are just, they're just cyclical. Like they just want you to live on a treadmill, you know. They're not interesting. They're not doing anything interesting anymore. Like they're just recycling the same ideas over and over and over again and expecting you to like continue to, like, they're really just surviving off of the characters that they're releasing, you know, and the coolness factor of those and the hype and the trailers they make and stuff. And
If you
I'm
go
just
right
like,
now to Zoneless
Zenless
Zeros,
Zone Zero, yeah.
Zenless Zone Zeros, Reddit right now,
Yeah.
it's nothing but thirst.
Yeah,
Legitimately.
100%, dude.
They're not
People
talking about
are
the combo mechanics or
not at all.
nothing.
The story, no. It's just how, like, the characters. Yeah, dude, the level of thirst in these games is out of fucking control, man. Like, people people are so lonely, man. Like we're getting really off topic now.
Yeah,
But we're
yeah,
getting into
right.
like societal trends of like like it is a documented thing. Men right now, young men are very lonely. You know, and I
Yeah,
think it's bleeding into the types of content that they absorb, you know.
that's true. And
um
and I, you know, I enjoy a good looking character. Like I will stand over a good looking character,
Definitely.
like the little bunny bitch from League of Legends just getting released. I'm like, man, she's fucking hot, right? And it's like
Yeah.
I understand, like, you know, having a hot character, then that character being your favorite character, or whatever the case may be. So I
Right.
understand that. Um, but it's also like cringe. Like you can't control that urge. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know. It's just
Right.
there's no control anymore. Everything is just 0 to 100 real quick. It's just
Well,
there's no moderation. That's the word I'm looking for. There's just no moderation. Even with
there's
like
also
porn,
no.
right? Like
Yeah.
you can look at porn, but there's moderation to it. Like I don't need to. I don't. First of all, I don't need it everywhere. Every time I
All
log
the
on for
time.
Twitter and
Right.
Instagram, I'm getting porn light and stuff. I don't need all that shit, right? So that's another
Mhm.
aspect to it. But then it's like I don't. I also don't need you to also, you know, be like a super fan where you're like looking at it at work and looking at it on. It's like everything in moderation. Like you can drink, you can smoke, moderation though. Like in my opinion, and
Right.
I feel the same thing for live service games. I just feel like everything's designed to take up maximize our time, and I think people really don't understand. Especially video game. I think video games understand how valuable your time is because you can't
Yeah.
get it back. Like the last 3 seconds just now, I can't get that back. But
Right.
I don't think people understand how valuable their time is. Gamers don't understand how valuable their time is, or whatever the case may
Right.
be. So I ain't mean to cut you off, but yeah, like I just, I'm really passionate about like gamers and like live service and like how to maximize your time and everything of that nature. So I don't know, man.
You maximize it by not playing live service games. That's
Exactly.
what you do. Is because dude, like I was gonna say, going back to the previous point though about characters being hot, right? Like Genshin Impact. Like I just put in the chat a link to one of the characters, right? Like the character's name is Yelan, and she is like the fucking hottest character in the game, straight up, bro. Like it's fucking insane, right? But I'm not like going on fucking Reddit and I'm like, oh man, Yelan is fucking, man, she got the Riz, bro. Fucking, she can fucking
Riz.
step on me, dude. You know, like what are we doing, man? Like, calm the fuck down. You know,
it's like it's okay if it's like all jokes or whatever, but like,
yeah,
like I said, when it's like you're not even talking about the game's mechanics, and it's like I don't know, man. Like
why are you even playing the game?
Yeah, just download the character and just look at the character all damn day. Like, I don't know. You know, like
yeah,
there are like tools where you can literally extract the character and just look at the character all day. You know, so
right.
like,
yeah,
I don't know. It's pretty dumb to me. Like, and the reason, like another reason, like I like certain characters too is like because they may look nice, but then I don't know what that character is like, the personality of the character, or whatever the case may be. And I'm like, oh, okay, they look nice, but like, it was the character personality or whatever. But yeah, I mean, like, it's so crazy how when I was younger, like, I'm actually glad live service games weren't really a thing, and then like this whole algorithm thing wasn't a thing, because it definitely could have got me, like, because there was a point in my life where I was like at a low point and everything when I was like between like the years of like 18 and 20 or whatever. Like I was at a low point, like, you know, that period where you get out of college or you get out of high school and you're like, you don't know exactly what you're gonna do, but you know you want to do something. And I think a lot of guys get lonely during that period, and then even after college, when you're like stepping out to the world for the first time, you were like really lonely as well, especially if you move to like a new state or something like that. I'm glad that algorithms and all that stuff wasn't as sophisticated as it is now, because yeah, I can only imagine what these dudes are going through. And I can't speak for women because I'm not a woman, so I'm not going to speak on them, but I'm pretty sure they're going through a similar situation, probably in a different way as far as like imaging and all that stuff with Instagram and all that stuff like that. But I can only imagine for like I can only imagine what dudes are going through, and that's probably why, you know, the birth rates are the way they are and all that other shit like that. But yeah, like, I don't know. I did want to make a point though. Why do you think? And I know we're like off topic and it's like
we're so off the reservation right now. That's fine.
Why do you feel like I can still go back to this day and play Burning Crusade? And it's a live service game. I can go back and play Final Fantasy 14. It's a live service game.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I wasted my time compared to like Genshin Impact, Honkai, or, you know, Destiny or something like that, right? Like I used to feel like when Destiny valued my time, but Destiny 2, I just don't feel like that anymore. But
you want to know why, Montrell? I'll tell you exactly why right now. All of those games you just mentioned, so World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, like real MMOs, they have multiple forms of progression in them. Destiny, Genshin Impact, Honkai Star Rail, Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, they have a single vertical progression path. That's it. There's nothing else to the game. You do the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and that's it. That's what those games are. World of Warcraft, Final Fantasy 14, there's tons of shit you could do. There's tons of types of ways to progress in the game. There's crafting, there's actually leveling up, there's doing dungeons, there's there's complete non-progression of you don't even need to progress. You can just exist in the game world. Like the game is immersive enough where you can go role play, you know, you can do all sorts of activities. There's events in the game. There's all sorts of shit to do. Whereas Genshin and Honkai and Zenless and Wuthering Waves, even those games when they have events, they do is they funnel you through that same vertical progression. They're giving you materials that help you with that one vertical progression path. They give you currency to get new characters in the same that for the same cycle that you've been in the whole fucking time. And Destiny's the same fucking way, dude. Like you progress in that one path of upgrading your light level. That's the game. That's why these games are ultimately boring. That's why they become boring. Whereas with Final Fantasy 14 or something like that, I can go back to it because those games will give me experiences. I don't have to just level my character. I can go craft. I can go role play. I can go get a house and build the house and put furniture in it and do all sorts of shit with it, and make it my little digital house, for my Warrior of Light. It's like I can do stuff like that. These games don't have those systems for the most part. And if they do, they're shallow and not very interesting, Like Genshin has a like kind of like a house thing that you can do in the game, and it's fucking boring as fuck. It's not interesting at all. Like it's just you literally just like place models of things that exist out in the game world already. It's like that, like you unlock assets from the game basically that already exist.
So do you think that's why Diablo 4 isn't as fun as Diablo 2? Because I mean, both of those are essentially live service games.
I don't think in the same way. No, I mean those games don't have a lot of variety to them either necessarily.
Okay.
I think the problem with Diablo 2
is more so a single player, but you can play online.
Yeah, right. Definitely. I think Diablo. I mean, I don't think Diablo 2 is that interesting personally myself. I think I have the same problem with both of those games. Is that when you're going to have a game that has a single progression path and that's the whole game, it's not like there's not a lot of variety to the gameplay. Then that core gameplay loop and those core gameplay systems need to be fucking excellent to keep the player engaged. And I don't think that, like Diablo 4, we talked about this. I don't think Diablo 4 is interesting in that regard. The itemization was not interesting. The character progression was probably one of the more interesting aspects to the game, but it wasn't enough to keep me going, to keep me playing the game.
Yeah.
Leveling my character wasn't that exciting. The gameplay, the actual moment to moment gameplay of clicking around fighting things just was not that fun. We talked about this. I think Diablo 3 has better combat to Diablo 4, like moment to moment.
You would get killed alive for that.
I know I would. But dude, Diablo 3 kept me riveted for a long time, at least a few hundred hours. Diablo 4 I played for 50 hours, I think, and I dropped it.
Well, so do you think that's the same thing? And you know what? That probably is the same thing with like Monster Hunter. The progression is definitely not linear. You have different builds you want to go for, different things you want to try,
different types of weapons you can do,
different type of weapons, and then it's a whole skill based progression with the weapons that you have to learn how to play those weapons and everything of that nature. So yeah,
I think if we're getting there, though, I think people would argue, right, with Destiny is you have the 3 different classes, right? You have different types of weapons you can use. So I think Monster Hunter is in that vertical progression as well, and that the way I'm talking about it. But the difference is that the gameplay is consistently riveting. Like it's always fun to fight a monster. Like it's always interesting to go fight monsters in that game. And obviously, like. People would come at me. Trust me, I understand, guys. This is fucking subjective. What I'm saying for me is what I mean. For me, Monster Hunter's gameplay is riveting enough to keep me engaged all the time. Right, the progression systems are interesting enough to keep me engaged. I think the one thing I would criticize with Monster Hunter, frankly, is that this is to the game's credit and almost a detriment to the game. Like both, like I feel I'm of two minds with this. Is that I would be interested in seeing them introduce different ways of progression other than just crafting gear in Monster Hunter, but I do think that's risky in that it would fundamentally change the game, potentially to a negative degree,
So I would say to a degree they do that with at least on the mobile, not the mobile games, but like the DS game or the 3DS games and stuff like that. You had, especially with Rise, you had like I was about to call it the Child Garden from Sonic. You have the Palico the garden or the Palico training area. You can train your
Yeah,
Palicos and
yeah,
give them different armor, and
true.
then you can get different materials from them and everything of that nature. Uh, and then even so, I think the reason why too, now we're talking about it, um, I think that's why I really didn't like Exo Primal. Uh, it just didn't look like it had the skill, like the different levels of progression to it. And it may have had that, but it just didn't look, like I said, I can just play Monster Hunter. Um,
Yeah.
and for me, for Destiny in particular, too, I don't think I think Destiny would have just benefited from being a straight up MMO. I think they're
Yes.
just trying too hard
To hedge.
to, yeah. I think they're trying too hard to be different or trying not to call themselves an MMO, and they could have just been a straight up MMO. The weapons that you get, there really isn't a big learning curve behind them. Uh, the abilities that you get, they're really, I mean, they have like a skill tree. Well, when I was playing, they had like a skill tree, but it was
Yeah.
like, you know,
Well, they sound. It sounds like with Beyond Light, this most recent expansion, that they've finally gone into a space where they let players actually experiment. Like there is skill.
okay,
So that skill tree's been there since the beginning of Destiny 2, right? But it was always linear.
yeah,
Like
it was super linear.
there were no choices to be made. Like you just went down the tree as you leveled, you know. Whereas now it sounds like they actually introduced build crafting into the game finally,
Oh,
where you
like the
could
nerd
mix
shit
in.
that we really wanted into the game.
Yes, like almost AR or more ARPG style where you pick and choose
Mm,
and you cannot pick everything. You have to make choices, you know.
gotcha.
And
Okay.
you can actually mix and match elements now, I guess, too, which is cool, which is not a
Oh,
thing
okay.
up until now. So it sounds like Destiny's going in a different direction, you know.
Okay, that makes sense then.
They're maybe they're making some of the changes that I think you and I would have wanted to see way earlier in the franchise's life, you know.
Well, I was,
But
but
yeah.
but to speak to you about Monster Hunter, I think the reason why we liked Monster Hunter Generations so much was because not only were you progressing with the armor, the palicos, um, and your weapons, you also had skill progression as well as far as your styles.
Leveling
Eh,
those, yeah.
Yeah, leveling your styles up and
They need
using
to bring
different
that back.
styles for different situations and stuff of that nature. And I think that's why we were so enamored with that game because it was getting a little stale for a while, and then this game came out. It was like hunter styles, and we're like, "Wait, this is really cool, actually." like, it,
Right.
you can have four different long blade users on the field, and they play completely different because of the move sets that were available to them. And I don't know. I just thought that was
Well,
very unique.
I think the amount of customization that Monster Hunter gives you is kind of the interesting gameplay I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You know, like when you're playing Genshin, there's nothing interesting about Genshin's progression, dude. Like
Yeah.
you put the water set on the water character, you know, it's not that hard to figure out. You know, and then you level them up and you level their skills and bang, they do 1,000,000 damage. It's like not that interesting of a game to progress in, you know, as a result. Whereas
Mhm.
with Monster Hunter is a perfect example. There's so many things you can customize about your character that makes them play differently from other people. As much as the styles aren't there anymore, you know,
Mhm.
they did have the Wirebug stuff in Rise that, you
Yeah,
know,
they
there's
did.
different
Yep.
Wirebug moves that not you can't have them all at the same time, you know?
Yep.
You
Exactly.
have to pick and choose, and then there's the skills on your equipment. There's the type of weapons you use. There's the elements you use. You know, that might change the way you play and stuff like that. And then of course there is the weapon that you use that changes the way you play as well. So there's a lot of depth in Monster Hunter, and I don't think, you know, them adding like a skill tree progression would really add much to the game. That's probably why they've never done it. You know,
Yeah. Mhm.
um, and it just makes you wonder though, what would Monster Hunter look like if they did that? You know, I would be intrigued by it. I'd love to see a game like one of the side games, like one of the handheld games they make maybe the next one they experiment with something like that and fuck around with it and just see what it looks like. But at the same time, they don't have to do that. You know,
Yeah.
they can add progression in different ways. You know, like you said, the styles is a good one, like leveling the styles or leveling your palicos and stuff. There is a lot of customization there that you can end up doing, and um Yeah, I don't know. They just hit an equilibrium with Monster Hunter. It's just so, but I think that's why I find MMOs so interesting, and I always tend to go back to them over time because there's no other game you can play where there's so many different things you can do in a game. You know, so many different activities. Like, dude, Final Fantasy 14 is unreal. Just the number of activities that the game has at this point after 10 years of expansions, like. Dude, I mean, seriously, just going into the gold saucer is, I mean, you could spend like multiple months there before you exhaust everything that's in there, you know?
Yeah.
And it's wild. They have like a fucking card game in the game that you can fucking play, you know, make your own little decks and shit. It's like, I mean, you know, like a lot of this shit is unnecessary, and I'm sure some players would be like, I don't want that shit in Destiny. You know, of course, sure, okay, we're getting into like weird side lanes and shit, but the point is that Destiny doesn't like change things up very much. Like they've literally like PvP is the thing that would change things up, and they abandoned that for years at a time. You know, it's like.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that's the reason I'm starting to find these games just not interesting, is because they tend to be very monolithic in the way they play. You know, so.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. Yeah, that's Exo Primal though, everybody.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. We didn't play it, so I don't know what I'm speaking to here, but again, I don't know, when you announce a game, you know, you gotta, I don't know, you gotta make it sound interesting, and they didn't do that with Exo
Bro,
Primal. So.
the game is a very read the room type game, in my opinion. Like, read the fucking room. No one will win at live service, in my opinion. $60 entry point.
Yep.
They probably would have did better if it was like a $30 entry point.
Yeah.
Or free.
Or free.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it maybe not though. Honestly, this might have been the only way that the game made money, is by making it cost $60. You know,
true.
Because if it was free, it might have just died and done nothing for them. You know.
Yeah, and then the bait and switch, the blue ballsing for
Dino Crisis. Yeah.
Dino Crisis. So, I mean, the game was kind of doomed to fail when it came out. It just came out at a really bad time, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it sucks, but it is what it is.
All right. Fair enough. All right. We went way off topic there, so let's get back on
sir.
track. Our final story. It's kind of 3 stories in one. I'm just throwing all this stuff in together, but we finally got Circana numbers for May 2024. Like, I mean, I've been checking every week. These are no, for May. Yes, in July. Yes. Matt Piscatella talked about it on Twitter because people were asking him, like, why the fuck are these coming so late? And he's just like, you know, I think he's saying that they're understaffed, is kind of reading between the lines of what he was trying to say, is that it just takes a lot of time to parse these numbers and put them out. So, all right. So to get into it, total video game sales for May of 2024, 3.975 billion this year versus 4.233 billion last year. That is a minus 6% decrease overall. Video game content, so this is game sales, DLC microtransactions, subscription services, were 3.624 billion this year versus 3.733 billion last year. That's a minus 3% decrease. Then video game hardware, 202 million this year versus 339 million last year. That's a 40% decrease in hardware sales. That has continued in May. And then video game accessories, 148 million this year versus 161 million last year, minus 8% decrease. So some other interesting data here. The PlayStation Portal, which a lot of people fucking hate this thing, it was the best selling accessory in May. So it's continuing to do very well for Sony. As far as I know, it's still hard to find too. So it's actually doing really well for Sony, which is interesting. And then let's get into the top 20 games of the month list. So number 1, this is where things got weird. Number 1 is Ghost of Tsushima, which is a game that came out 4 fucking years ago. Was the best-selling game in the US in May. Number 2, Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door. Number 3, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Number 4, Helldivers 2. Number 5, MLB The Show 24. Number 6, Sea of Thieves, still on the list. Number 7, Minecraft. Number 8, Elden Ring. Number 9, Hogwarts Legacy. Number 10, Stellar Blade. Number 11, Fallout 4. Number 12, EA Sports FC 24. Number 13, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Number 14, Homeworld 3. 15, Mario Kart 8. 16, Madden NFL 24. 17, Rise of the Ronin. 18, F1 24. 19, Mortal Kombat 1. And 20, Dragon's Dogma 2. Montreal, what's jumping out to you there?
Definitely the Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, it came out on PC, so that just to explain that, give a
I
little
mean,
explanation.
yeah,
on that.
I figured that. I just think. I mean, I know it's a really great game. Don't get me wrong. I just didn't think it was gonna move. I didn't think people on the PC was like clamoring for this game like that.
Like this is. I mean, this is probably. I mean, I'm gonna assume this has to be the biggest launch on PC for Sony so far, right?
Maybe.
Which means it outsold. Spider-Man. It outsold.
I don't think it. I don't think it.
God of
outsold
War.
Spider-Man.
God of War Ragnarok.
It probably
Horizon.
Did. I can see God of War.
Last of Us. Last of Us Part 1. Last of Us Part 2. I mean, maybe it didn't outsell those, but those weren't charting like this. So, I mean, it does sound like May was an extremely down month for game sales, like extremely down month, like even more so than April was. So that might be the explanation here, is that this game sold a few 100,000 copies, and that's the top selling game of the month, which would be extremely low for a month of game sales. But regardless, being number 1, dude, that's fucking crazy for a game that's 4 years old, you know?
Yeah, well, to give you wait, so I'm sorry. So did it come out on PC this month?
May.
Oh, no, 2 months ago. 2 months ago. Okay.
May 16th, yeah.
Yeah, so just to give you some kind of heads up, I know this is not indicative of like everything, but the estimation of owners is anywhere between 600K and 1 million.
On Steam?
Yeah.
Where's that number coming from?
Playtracker.com and VG Insights.
Okay.
Okay. Because I'm looking.
Those are just estimates.
Yeah, I'm looking at the Steam charts, right? I'm looking at Steam charts because I'm curious to see what was the. Usually you can gauge.
Well, what are player counts? Yeah.
Yeah. So
like, what was peak?
Peak was 7,700 or 77,000 rather. I'm sorry.
Wow! Holy shit!
Yeah. 2 months ago.
Fuck. 77K?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Damn, dude, that's a fucking impressive. What the fuck? That's definitely their highest. I think God of War was like 60,000 or something. Like Ragnarok, I think, was 60 or 70,000 was their peak concurrence at any given time. So I will say one thing is Paper Mario 1,000 Year Door does not include digital numbers, so that game very well could have sold more than Ghost of Tsushima.
That's true.
So keep that in mind as well.
God of War was 73,000.
Okay, yeah. So that outdid it. Yeah, that's nuts. Wow. I mean, dude, doesn't this show that Sony's strategy here going to PC? I mean, it is working out, isn't it? Like they should have done this a long time ago.
You know what? I think they should still do the delayed release, but I don't think they should do it as long as they did it. I think they should do it at least either 1 year or 6 months. You get the bulk of your sales in the first 6 months, in my opinion, or the first 3 months rather. But I can definitely see, like, you know, if they release God of War 3 or whatever, right? You know, do 6 months and then release it, and then you're going to get a second wave while it's still hot. Like, this probably could have sold a lot more while it's still hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that's very interesting, but I do agree with you. This Sony strategy is working on slowly moving their stuff over to PC.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, obviously they're not going to stop anytime soon, but yeah, they're I mean, Sony's in an interesting spot. I don't want to get on like another diatribe necessarily, but just thinking about the way they're approaching things versus Microsoft, like Sony's in a different position where they are looking for areas to grow, you know. They're trying to grow their player base. You know, we talked about the stuff with them going into China, like, you know, investing in developers in China, in India. We see it in Korea with Shift Up, and then the Africa with what was that fucking thing. It was Carry First, I think it was what it was called.
Yeah.
That company in Africa that they're working with as well. Like they are looking for new markets to penetrate with PlayStation. Whereas Microsoft is like in a completely different place where they're just trying to grow Game Pass numbers, not necessarily the overall Xbox ecosystem. And we've seen how that is not working for them. And Sony's just looking for new markets. PC's a new market for them, and it's working out fucking crazy good. So I don't know. It's a interesting spot that Sony's in right now. But other things on the list that jump out to me, Sea of Thieves still being number 6 on here in May is fucking hilarious. Microsoft, I mean, again, Sony's not even having to try that hard, and they're selling Microsoft's games better than Microsoft sells them. It's like, it's just fucking, it's wild, what's going on here. So, I mean, I think with Microsoft, as much as we were talking about them recommitting to hardware, at the same time, they really need to think about games that would make sense to put on PlayStation. Cause I mean, it's just fucking free money they're leaving on the table,
Yeah.
if they're really looking to increase revenue, I mean, that's an easy way to do it. Right. So,
yeah. Yep.
But yeah, outside of that, let's see, what do we got? Fallout 4 on here at 11. That's interesting. There's really not a lot of new games in May that charted,
Yeah, May was a really slow month.
Seemed like a down month. Yeah. There's a lot of good indie stuff in May, I think, and that obviously that generally doesn't chart in Circana. So, yeah. So let's see. Anything else jumping out to you there on that top 20 or?
Nope, that's it for me.
Okay. And then top 20 for the year so far. Number 1, Helldivers 2 still. Number 2, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3. Number 3, Dragon's Dogma 2. Number 4, MLB The Show 24. Number 5, Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. Number 6, Tekken 8. Number 7, Madden NFL 24. Number 8, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which is fucking crazy. Number 9, Hogwarts Legacy, which is also fucking crazy. Number 10, Persona 3 Reload. Number 11, NBA 2K24. Number 12, EA Sports FC 24. Number 13, Sea of Thieves. That's insane, dude. Number 14, Marvel Spider-Man 2. Number 15, Minecraft. Number 16, Stellar Blade. Number 17, Rise of the Ronin. Number 18, Elden Ring. Number 19, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 20, Skull and Bones. I mean, Montrell, like, it. Yeah, I know, right? I mean, it's going to drop off the list probably in the next month when we get to June. But isn't it insane? These, like, Sea of Thieves is technically a live service game too, right? So,
yes.
Isn't it wild how these games fucking dominate this list? It's like startling, when you really look at it.
I still can't believe Suicide Squad is number 8.
Dude, yeah. I mean, and this game lost WB supposedly $200 million, and it's number 8 for the year. How is that possible? Somebody explain that to me. How did you lose $200 million and you're number 8 in the year in May? Like, for sales. What the fuck? That's fucking wild. You shouldn't lose money when you chart on fucking Circana. Like, the fuck are we talking about? Like, isn't that the prime example of why budgets are out of control in the game industry? It's just fucking crazy, dude. So,
I mean, and this also speaks to gamers. I mean,
yeah, they buy this shit anyways. They still buy this shit anyways when everybody's screaming about how it looks horrible,
And I mean, yeah, you got to play the game for yourself. I understand that. But I just looked at the game. I just didn't want a live service game. But anyway, yeah, I think it's crazy how it's actually beating 2K and everything like that. Yeah,
dude, I don't know. Sea of Thieves beating fucking like Stellar Blade and Rise of the Ronin. Like, what? Like, Sea of Thieves has sold, like, I mean, these games have sold 1 million plus copies. Like, what? Sea of Thieves?
I mean, see, from what I understand, bro, it's it's almost like Rust on the Sea. Like, it's very unique.
I think I'm not trying to say that it's like doesn't deserve the sales. What I'm trying to say is how the impact of one platform, putting it on one platform, did this. I guess they did put it on Switch too, didn't they? Or no, they didn't. I don't think it's on Switch.
I don't think it's on Switch yet.
Dude, it's just PlayStation. Like, just PlayStation, and it's charting this much. That's insanity, Like, I don't know, man. If the man, it's got to be so. It's like almost so embarrassing for Microsoft, you know. Like Sea of Thieves never charted. You know, it's like I don't know. I mean, it's
Yeah,
fucking nuts.
that is pretty. Yeah, when you think about it like that, that's pretty crazy. Like your install base is that bad to where
Yeah, dude.
once you put it on another console,
Competitor's platform. The
it
game
just
instantly charts 2 months in a
instantly
row.
charts. Just imagine if they released Hellblade on fucking PlayStation.
Well, okay, so let's get into the rest of this, right? I had two more things here. So PlayStation Store June 2024's top downloads. So this is June now. We're in June, right? We just talked about May, Circana. This is June top downloads for PlayStation. So for US Canada, Grand Theft Auto 5 number 1, Elden Ring number 2, NBA 2K24 number 3, Sea of Thieves number 4, still there. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 is number 5. Number 6 is MLB The Show 24. V Rising is number 7. Tom Clancy's Rainbow Six Siege number 8. Madden NFL 24 is 9. Helldivers 2 at 10. Marvel Spider-Man 2 at 11. Mortal Kombat 1 at 12. Killer Clowns from Outer Space, the game, number 13. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut, number 14. UFC 5 is 15. Hogwarts Legacy 16. EA Sports FC 24 is 17. It Takes Two is 18. Cyberpunk 2077 is 19. Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus is number 20. And then on EU, I'm not going to read the whole list, but on EU, Sea of Thieves is number 3. It's like, fucking what the fuck? So, dude, I think the thing with the PlayStation list that I find interesting is it's even more stark how much of the live service stuff is at the top every month, you know, when you really look at it. Grand Theft Auto 5, NBA 2K24, Sea of Thieves, Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3, MLB The Show 24, Rainbow Six Siege, Madden 24, Helldivers 2, Mortal Kombat 1, EA Sports FC 24. You know, it's like over half the list is live service games.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and yeah, so that's even more embarrassing for Microsoft, continuing to dominate the fucking PlayStation charts. But let's even more embarrassing than that. Let's talk about a little tweet from Matt Piscatella, because I was very curious about Hellblade's performance. Obviously, you guys probably noticed that I did not say that game's name the entire time we were talking about Circana. It charted 37th in overall sales for May 2024. Yikes. Yikes. I mean, Ninja Theory, they got to be nervous, you know? I would think they got to be nervous.
Because you look at the game and you don't understand who the audience is for. Who is this for?
Right.
It's
well, also,
6-hour game.
Right. They made the combat like simpler, from what I understand, than the first game too.
So who is this game for?
I don't know.
The puzzles are the same, or even simpler. Actually, the combat's even simpler. If you wanted to make a movie, just ask Microsoft to give you the money to make a fucking movie.
Yeah.
You know, I feel so bad for them, man. Like 37, you're a talented studio like Ninja Theory.
Yeah. I know, you're not even close to the top 20, you know?
Who, like, I don't think the studio needs to shut down, but whoever was the head of this project needs to be fired. I'm sorry. Like,
well, and again, I want to go back to Phil and Matt Booty and Sarah Bond. Their leadership resulted in this game, you know? Like,
yeah, whoever greenlit this probably needs to step down or be fired.
Or
maybe not step down.
Necessarily greenlighting it though, but like not taking a closer look at the game and being like, yeah, we got to do something here, guys. You know, like we got to change some things up here. You know, like this isn't, you know, I like letting the artists have their vision is great. I'm totally for it, you know, but again, you got to remember, like, we're not talking about like in a vacuum of just making art. Like this is a company making a product that needs to make money. You know, at some point somebody has to step in and say something to get the game to be able to make money, you know? I don't know. Being
Yeah,
on Game
no,
Pass probably really hurt the game too.
yeah, 100%.
You know,
And on top of that, I can watch the entire game on YouTube, which I did do actually. I can watch the
right?
entire gameplay on YouTube, and since the gameplay is not unique enough to where I can get different gameplay experiences, I
Right.
essentially just play the game.
You're right. Well, I remember when I watched The Order 1886. You know, when that game came out, I did the
Yeah,
same. That's one of the few games I've ever watched a full playthrough on YouTube of, but it was because it was like 3 hours.
yeah, exactly. It was like
You know, and
it's like
I
watching a
ended up
movie.
playing the game, and I didn't get a whole lot out of it. You know, playing it myself.
But
Um,
that's actually a good example. We done this already. Where are
right.
they? What were they thinking?
I know it didn't work, and I would argue that The Order 1886 is endlessly more interesting looking than Hellblade 2
Yeah, it is.
from a gameplay and story perspective. You know, like I don't know.
So we've already done this. I I don't know, man. This is another reason why games need to be preserved. Like, cause we need to learn from history. This this is a catastrophic failure on all degrees. And
Yeah,
it's not the developers, it's the leadership of the developer, of the development team.
yeah.
How was this greenlit this way? It, Phil had to greenlit it. It went through the ranks, and they said, "Okay, this is the game." No
I
one
don't know.
checked
They
on the
may have been
game.
working on it. They may have been working on it before they were acquired, but they were acquired in like 2018. Man, that would be a
No,
really long
man.
time.
This was backed by Microsoft, 100%.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it had to have been greenlit by Microsoft. It couldn't have taken more than 6 years.
Because this was supposed to push the power of the Xbox Series X. So once
Then again,
again,
weren't we talking about it? They were doing like they did an hour of development per year. They made an hour of the game per year or something like that.
that's
So
fucking
maybe it
crazy.
was that long.
That's crazy to me.
Bonkers.
Why do you? I like you said. I understand keeping the artist's vision intact, but
Mhm.
there are some movies where they done that and the movie became terrible.
It bombed, yeah. Or it was
Yeah,
awful. It was a terrible movie, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Sometimes the artists like I like to be fair, right? Artists aren't infallible, right? Like sometimes they don't know what they're doing. Like they think they're making something genius when in reality it's total dog shit and they just can't see it, you know?
yeah.
And that's where you need someone to come in and say, dude, like this makes no sense. Like this is terrible. This isn't fun. I'm not playing a fun game right now, you know? Like video games are supposed to be fun, you know? It's like you're not The Last of Us. Like you're trying that might be what they're going for, you know? Like
But The
they're trying
Last
to
of Us is
be
fun.
I know, but some people would argue, I've heard plenty of people say that it's not a fun game to play, you know?
Well, The
But
Last of Us one, yes. I don't think that's a fun game to play.
well, I just mean like the tone of it and playing through the game. It's a very
Oh
dour
yeah,
game
it's a
and
very
and
dour
like
game. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, right. You know, and but to your point, the gameplay is fun. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's still a video game at the end
It's
of the day.
still a video game, right? It's still a video game, you know?
Like you can have all that. I think The Last of Us Two is a very good example of that. You can have all that emotional shit and still help Ellie move like fucking John Wick. You know, so
Like
it's
I
like
wish that game, I don't know if the game does, but I almost wish the game had like a challenge mode where you go through all the encounters and like you can like build or they built like more challenging encounters where you have like 3 or 4 factions on the field at the same time.
I
Like,
think
dude,
they do have something like that
that
actually.
sounds fucking fun as fuck, man. You know, where you have like 3 different AI factions and you have to kill them all, you know, and they're
Yeah,
fighting each other and shit. And like, oh my God, like it sounds so fucking awesome.
but yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel bad for this team because, like I said, they're very talented. I think the IP had potential.
It's over now. It's
It's
done
over
now.
now. It's done.
Move on. Yeah,
I
Microsoft.
thought
If you greenlit, because there are rumors they're thinking about doing another game. If you greenlit a Hellblade 3, like y'all gotta fire, you gotta fire Phil and Booty and Sarah Bond. Like they just
no, bro. it. I don't understand how you can make a sequel to a game and just be worse. Like when Hellblade 1 came out, I think people saw the potential. They're like, wow, this could be a really cool game with the concepts they're introducing and everything of that nature. I think everybody unanimously is like, I just want more from the combat. That's it. Like I love the puzzles. I love the hallucinations. I love the story element. I love how you're telling the story to us. Just give us a little bit more combat. And you take that away, you
take combat stuff out of the combat. Genius.
When you're known for that, you're a studio known for that shit. For having good combat in your games.
I feel like this is a situation where like somebody's vision ran away and like took over the game, where they were like they really wanted, like I'm gonna guess that the story was the primary focus, and they really didn't want to take away from the story, but they felt like they couldn't just make a movie. Like they still needed a gameplay to be in there, but they wanted it to be as basic as humanly possible so people could experience their amazing story with no obstacles in front of them,
Yeah.
And that didn't turn out to be the case.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just
yeah, I don't know. I mean, we should probably just leave it there. There's not much more to say. It's a game. It came out and it's gone. Who cares at this point? It's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate reality for Ninja Theory, but I would wager very much a disappointment for Microsoft in terms of sales and everything. But hopefully Ninja Theory gets another shot to make something else. So we'll see.
Well, I will say, like, the creative director did leave. He wasn't really involved in Hellblade 2.
The original game's creative director?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. So that's what I mean, though. Whoever took over maybe took over the game and wanted to make something very specific.
I will say this guy, though, his name is Tamim Antonadis. I'll just put it in chat. This is his name. So he was also the creative director for. He's a character. He was the main reason why DMC is hated by the DMC community. Because of his attitude towards Devil May Cry and everything of that nature. So he really does have a huge personality, I would say. As far as like he wants things to be his way or the highway. I can definitely see that in his personality. But I can't blame this one on him because I looked it up and he wasn't really too much involved. He was involved in the early stages of Hellblade 2, but then he left the company. Or he took a hiatus.
Yeah.
So, yeah, sucks, but
yep, is what it is. All right, well, Montrell, this has been a beefy episode. Anything else you want to talk about before we head out of here today?
Nope, that's it.
All right, well, thank you for joining me as always. Everybody, thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please like the show, review the show, and subscribe to the show on whatever feed you are listening to it on. And please subscribe to us on YouTube. That would really help us out there. If you'd like to interact with us on Twitter, you can do so at iTrap for the Hokage from the Montrell. That's the number 4, not the word. I'm at Thundernet01. And the show is at the Player's Take. If you'd like to send us a question, you can do so on Twitter, or you can send us an email to theplayerstake01@gmail.com. And that's going to be it for us, guys. We hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next week.